All right, everybody. It is Sunday, so you know what time it is. It's time for the college football Sunday recap, followed by the best NFL preview, fantasy, bets, all that stuff that you're going to see. Very excited to be joined by you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. It's easy. Just click it below. We appreciate you guys. Been growing like a weed. We want to keep it that way. Let me go ahead and bring in my co-host, 6'7", but has 10 feet of love in him. That's David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback. Can't wait to talk about Michigan, David, after that sterling performance against Maryland. Wink, wink. And, of course, my brother, 6'4", 195 pounds, twisted steel and sex appeal, Blaine Crane, former Western Colorado wide receiver. That's the nicest thing I'm going to say about him all week. Blaine,
let's keep that going. I love that.
Yeah, no, don't get used to it. You know what's up. Guys, look, I want to hop right in here. We're going to get to the chat. What's up, everybody? Mike RF Lifestyle. See you. Jessica Grant, Texas Ed, Dylan, Colleen, Travis. Got some great stuff to talk about. Look, let's jump right in. All right, we're going to bounce around a little bit, but we got to jump right in. We got a Greg Louganis this thing. Get on the high dive. Everybody's clapping. Don't be afraid to jump off. Clemson, Wake Forest. Guys, I've got to take it off to DJU. He's a guy that I questioned this week. I thought this might be the week where we saw Cade Klubnik end up coming in and being the guy. But this is the first game, Cone, and you played quarterback at a very high level. And when you watch the position, you watch it different than other people. But it looked to me like DJU was as comfortable in the pocket as I've ever seen him. Balls were coming out on time. He was throwing the ball away when he needed to throw it away, not too early. He was extending plays inside the pocket and outside the pocket. And this has to be a huge confidence builder. I mean, you're 26 of 41 for 371 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions. That's a good day at the office.
Yeah.
That one definitely doesn't get you fired from Glenn Ross. But what did you see from DJU Cone that really kind of looks like he's cemented himself, at least for right now, as a guy who may live up to the hype we all thought?
Well, first of all, big shout out to DJU Ungalalea. He won that football game for Clemson. Right. And we've been hard on him on this show, saying that maybe Clemson should make a change.
And
what did I see from him? I mean, first of all, he used his legs in the right way. Right, Jake? We're talking about the fact that when they played Georgia Tech in the opener, I saw DJU go through his progressions and hit his third wide receiver, I think, twice. Right. And I was like, there it is. That's it. I know that he can do it. But 2 times going through your progressions is not enough in a game. Well, yesterday, he was able to go through his progressions. And when something wasn't there, he was able to use his legs in the right way. And then also his physicality. I mean, look, the guy has the size of like a Cam Newton type quarterback, and you were able to see him actually use that yesterday. I think someone on Twitter screenshotted a play of that last 2-point conversion where he's basically almost sideways and he's throwing a 2-point conversion that was converted. I mean, that was the way that we wanted to see DJ Uiagalelei use his size and stature for most of the season. My question, Jake, is this. We've seen Bo Nix, right? Bo Nix at Auburn and even at Oregon have unbelievable games and then come back the next week and struggle. This is a huge win for Clemson on the road. And when I say that DJU won that game for them, I mean, the number 2 or number 3 defense in the country has no business giving up 45 points to me, right? You shouldn't need your quarterback to go out there and throw 5 TDs if you have the type of defense that Clemson has. My question is, while this is a great win for Clemson, can he replicate that week in and week out against an ACC conference here that is looking stronger and stronger?
Yeah, Blaine, I wanted to add that too. When you look, we talk about repeating what you were doing, right? Hendon Hooker, I thought, had a great quote when they were talking about Tennessee and Florida. I think Gary Danielson was talking about it, saying, I want to be quiet in the pocket. What does that mean? You shouldn't know what happened the play before.
Yep.
It's just like a pitcher, right? You should never know if a pitcher in baseball is up 10 runs or down 10 runs. And DJ Blaine, honestly, kept it steady. And another guy who kept it was Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, who goes 20 of 29 for 340 and 6 touchdowns, a 94.8 QBR. It was a hell of a game, Blaine, but, everybody's going to talk about DJU in the offense. But Clemson defensively, all week we talked about, and in keys to victory, my key for Wake Forest was you have to have an escape plan for if the slow mesh RPO wasn't working, because Clemson's so good up front. I know they're missing a couple guys, but Blaine, Wake Forest held their own up front the whole game. The slow mesh RPO was working. That's what worked on the play action game, being able to pull it and take shots.
Yeah.
I mean, Wake Forest was moving the ball not only in between the 20s, but in the red zone, which is the hardest thing to do against Clemson when the field shrinks. So just something real quick before we move on.
Well, I thought Wake Forest found their matchups early and they found what they like and they kept going to it. Number 20, whatever cornerback that was for Clemson, they were going right at him and they wanted to find out early. And if you'd have told me Wake Forest would have over 100 rushing yards in this game, I probably would have called you a liar. But am I surprised by anything with Sam Hartman, the stuff that this guy's been through? Sam Hartman's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I love their identity, but I still go back to this. It's a huge game for DJU and he needed this. But at the quarterback position, consistency is king. All right, that's what it is. The weekend, I'm this guy. The next week, I'm that guy. To be the champion of the ACC and go win playoffs, we need you to be steady Betty. I need you to be the same guy every day, in and out at that position. This is a big win for Clemson, but you got to have a short memory because next week, who do you got? You got NC State. So we'll really find out next week if this is the real DJU, because to be a top-tier program, you have to be that guy week in and week out.
Definitely not. I want to stay in the ACC. Let's go from conference to help. Any comments, questions, Blaine, you guys see from the chat, go ahead and throw them out there. But I want to stay in conference. We're going to stay with the ACC right now. Then we're going to jump to the Big 12, guys, if that's cool with y'all. Notre Dame handles business against North Carolina. This North Carolina, only North Carolina's defense could make Notre Dame's offense look not only not inept, but high-flying, the ability to score points at will. I mean, so Notre Dame scores no points in the first quarter. All right, it's 7-0 in the first quarter. You're like, all right, this seems like kind of a Notre Dame game. Notre Dame drops a 24-piece in the
24,
14-piece in the third, and a 7-piece in the fourth, and end up scoring 45 points. Gene Chiswick's a guy that's coordinated a lot of defenses. He's been a head coach. And we know Drake May comes out, makes fun of NC State. I know producer Justine. But is this North Carolina defense one of the worst in the country? I think it is.
I agree with you. I think it is too. And even when they started the season 2-0, when they had beaten App State, I was like, is this the worst 2-0 team in the country? But I don't want that to overshadow Notre Dame. Back-to-back wins here. Marcus Freeman's first 2 wins with the program. I think he's trending in the right direction. The playing the Buckeyes close in week 1 obviously looks a lot less great after you lose to Marshall, but they won these past 2 games. It's still a Power 5 program that you beat. I think that Notre Dame's heading in the right direction, and it's a good win.
Yeah, look, Blaine, at the end of the day, Notre Dame's got a tough schedule. We know how they started out. It wasn't pretty. Do you think this can be somewhat of a springboard game? Because if you look at Notre Dame's schedule, it's not getting a whole lot easier. I mean, Drew Pine did throw for 3 touchdowns. The passing game did look competent. But do we really know after facing the Swiss cheese that is North Carolina's defense if that's something that can continue?
No, I mean, it's a good win, but do I really still believe that week in, week out, Notre Dame's going to be consistent on offense? No, I don't. I mean, North Carolina's defense is terrible, guys. We could probably get, 8 guys together and go rack up 30 points against these guys. It's a good win for Notre Dame. They need it. Congrats, Colleen Houston. I know you're super pumped about it, and all Notre Dame fans are. But you're going to have a long year. And if that offense doesn't really figure it out, that defense isn't good enough to carry you. So it's a good win. Good for Coach Freeman, but I still don't believe in this offense and taking them to win games.
Colleen just said, my mom said if wins were based on the looks of the head coach, Notre Dame would be undefeated.
Yeah, Mark's a good-looking guy for sure.
That's 100% true. We got a donation from Owen Donahue, $3. That's going to buy at least 1 beer today. Owen, appreciate you, my friend. He says, is Wisconsin undefeated the rest of the season? Man, I just continually struggling on offense.
I would say
I've got their schedule. Hold on. I've got it.
Let's go. The donation automatically gets a question asked. So let's go ahead through that. We're going to stay in the ACC. We're about to talk about the absolute FEMA trailer 5-alarm fire disaster that took place in Coral Gables with Miami and Middle Tennessee State here soon. But a dono gets the question soon and fast, like Apollo Ono. That's
Wisconsin.
a joke.
Illinois at home.
That one's going to be ugly.
Take
the under, but I like Wisconsin at home.
At Northwestern.
Puke, but I'll take Wisconsin. Northwestern, it just shows you how bad Nebraska was. They looked somewhat fast and the ability to score at will from the outside, and then they come home and lose to Southern Illinois.
At Michigan State.
Wow. After what I saw from Michigan State yesterday, they made Minnesota look like the Globonauts, like Blaze, Laser, Taser, Blazer.
God, is Minnesota back?
I'm going to be honest, watching that game, I think Michigan State was that bad. We'll get to it, but right now, give me that game is a 10-7 win for Wisconsin. And I have to take a shower after watching it.
They get Purdue at home.
Dude, Purdue tried to lose to FAU yesterday. I can't believe that. FAU is not exactly running up anybody's list of team of the year. I think Purdue wins that game. I think they find a way to score points.
Maryland at home.
Give me Maryland right now.
I know.
Give me Maryland right now. We'll talk about that. Oh, best believe that.
Wisconsin goes to Iowa. Take
Good. Congrats on the 6-3 win. Even though Iowa did drop some points yesterday. I was looking at the score. I kept wiping my eyes and looking to make sure.
Rutgers kept throwing them the ball. And
they scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
Stop. Greg Shanno's like, listen, they can't score if we give it to their offense. Oh wait, my bad.
Then they go to Nebraska, and then Wisconsin finishes with Minnesota at home.
Yeah, that's going to be a loss. No, Wisconsin, man, I see 2-3 losses in there until they are able to be explosive on offense. Because, everybody talks about, Wisconsin just a ground and pound style offense. When they had Melvin Gordon and all these guys, and I know they stay with good backs, but when they were really cooking, the play action game was so good because the run game was so good that guys were wide open, but there was still a little bit of an intricate pass game. They weren't just dead in the water on 3rd and 7. Now, if Wisconsin is anything 3rd and 5 or more, you can best believe the punt team is not only alerted, but they're going to come out in the field. They have got to find a way to be able to add. It's kind of like with Gus Malzahn a little bit, right? What ended up costing him at the end? He wasn't intricate in the passing game and didn't evolve enough in the passing game. I feel like Wisconsin is still reading old stone Mesopotamian tablets when it comes to the passing game. Their routes are still like, you run a 3 route, you run a 5 route, you run a 7 route, and we'll punt. Like, that's what I feel like it is from Wisconsin. If you're not evolving, you're dissolving. And while the run game is good, you're still not balanced. And balance what keeps you on the beam.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all's thoughts?
Go ahead, Blaine.
No, I agree. Look, I love when people run the ball, but if you're out there to run the ball every play, you're only going to get so far. You really are. Times are changing. You need to update your offense. The one team I kind of look to that does have success with is Kentucky. But Kentucky has a legitimate quarterback. Okay, so if you can establish that run game and have a legitimate quarterback who can somewhat run and hit the play action, I can see that you have different tools of your offense. But if you just get out there and run the ball every play, or 80% of the time, you're not going to win a lot of games. I'm sorry, you're just not. Times are different. Football's turning into a passing sport. That's what it is. So to be balanced is great, but if you're 70-30, 80-20 to the run, you're not going to win the games. You're not going to upset anybody. Like that Ohio State game was murder. Ohio State could have beat them 80-14 if they really wanted to. So I think I'm all for ground and pound. I love running the ball. I do, but you have to be balanced. You have to be balanced.
That's the thing too. Is it's still a physical game, and the physicality is set up front. And let me give you an example. Wake Forest yesterday. All of the highlights are going to show Sam Hartman throwing these deep bombs against the Clemson secondary. Mm-hmm. It was set up by the run. It was set up with their success on the ground. Now let me give you another example. Purdue, excellent quarterback in Aiden O'Connell. He can throw the ball all over the yard. Purdue cannot run the football. So when you talk about them almost losing to someone like FIU, that's the reason. So it may be, you may have most of your success, most of your touchdowns, and most of your highlights through the air. But if you can't set that up by being physical in the run game, you're not going to win a lot of football games.
No, I agree with you 100%. And talking about winning football games, I was shocked. There's very few times when you're in the business as long as I was, and you've obviously followed it as long as I was, that you are just totally shocked with the result. What Middle Tennessee did to Miami yesterday shocked me. That was a game I didn't even have on my radar. I didn't bet on it, so it wasn't on my radar. And I looked down at the score, and I thought it was legitimately an error. When I looked down and it said 24-10, Middle Tennessee, I thought it was legitimately an error. And you look at how it happened. Cunningham for Middle Tennessee, he goes 16-25, guys, for 408 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. You want to talk about average yards per catch? Complete 16 passes for 408 yards. Do the math on that. That's a lot of yards per catch. Then 16. You look at Miami. They had to make a pitching change. Van Dyke was 16-32 for $140, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. And so they bring in Garcia, who was okay. He was 10-19 for 170. He didn't throw a touchdown or an interception. But guys, without Restrepo, I know Restrepo was important to Miami. I get that. But it seems like now they have no shot, especially once they get into the red zone, of being able to score. The lack of playmakers at Miami right now is absolutely wild to me. And I believe in Mario down there. this happens. La Monroe beat Saban his first year at Alabama. People won't talk about that anymore. And I'm not saying Mario is Saban, but stuff like this does happen. But guys, your leading rusher has 57 yards. Your leading receiver had 80 yards. When you don't have a guy that rushes for over 100 or have a receiver that catches for over 100 against a team like Middle Tennessee State, and you give up more bombs in the middle of World War II, it just absolutely shocked me how Miami played. Middle Tennessee showed up to play. It looked like Miami had a hangover from the A&M loss.
And Middle Tennessee is now 3-0 against Miami. So maybe it shouldn't have shocked us too much. They're 3-0 against Miami.
Who has the pictures?
A lot of Miami fans reached out to me after we released our top 10 quarterback rankings in the preseason and said, hey, no Tyler Van Dyke. And I just said, I want to see more. Like, he could climb up into the top 5 after the season. Like, I need to see more from the kid. And I think after the Texas A&M loss and after this performance, I think you see why he hasn't cracked into that top 10 quarterbacks in the country. But if you're a Miami fan, at least you can draw on this and say, Mario Cristobal's our guy. We're getting new facilities. He's going to recruit well, and the direction of the program is headed in a good one.
Yeah, it's, again, I think Mario is the guy. It just the lack of explosive play ability at Miami is still so weird for me to see because it is Miami. When I think about guys, making catches and runs yards after the catch and yards after contact and crazy one-handers, Miami's kind of known for that, big hits on defense and things like that. So at the end of the day, it was a shocker. I tell you what else was a shocker, guys. Duke and Kansas mattering on the football field.
Yeah. What a game.
Yes. What a game. What a game. Kansas moves to 4-0. I mean, Dino Babers and Lance Leipold, especially the way Georgia looked against Kent State, how are they not the front runners for Coach of the Year right now? And you know what? I'll throw another name in there. Kalen DeBoer, a guy I was really high on for Washington. I know Stanford and David Shaw aren't exactly setting the world on fire this year, but Washington continues to look like such a competent football team. But let's start with Kansas, moving to 4-0, scored a touchdown in every quarter, 2 in the second. They're a complete football team, and they're playing complementary football. Let me say that again, just for the human beings that are listening. Kansas is a complete football team. Here's what I thought, guys, before you opine. Vladimir Putin threatens nukes. So does a Utah fan, but they win. Kansas is good at football. These are the end times, fellas. These are the end times. I'll be the guy holding up the sign, the end is near. But I enjoy watching Kansas play, Blaine.
Oh, I do too. And they're not like, this isn't a joke. This is a good football team, a generally good football team. And I'm looking at their schedule right now. It's going to get a little bit dicey in the middle of the year. We're going to find out. Yeah, you got Iowa State and TCU at home. You go to Oklahoma, you go to Baylor, then you have Oklahoma State at home, and then you have Texas at home, and you go to Kansas State. So, we're going to find out how good they are. But right now, if you're a Kansas fan, you can only be happy. After the way your program's looked the last 10 years, it's just been an absolute disaster. You're starting to figure it out. And if you'd have told me before the season started that Kansas would be one of the biggest surprises this year, that'd be the last team on my list. But good for Kansas, good for their fans, because there's a lot. I know it's a basketball school, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of Kansas football coaches there. There's a lot of Kansas football fans. So enjoy it while it lasts, because you probably got 2 more weeks of having fun, and then it gets real.
Yeah, well, speaking about enjoying it while you last, guys, you need to make sure. Now, we've talked fantasy football on the waiver wire, but before, we got to tell you about the ultimate pickup that's still available right now. You got guys like Raheem Mostert and stuff like that. But I do want to say there is a McLaren being given away, guys. I don't know another way to put this. That there's a lot of things that you can say. There's a lot of ways that it can go down. But Jeremy's Razors is having a contest for the car. So between now and November 1st, 2022, whoever earns the most points in the Jeremy Razors contest for the car will take home Jeremy's McLaren. Like, it is a real McLaren. This isn't a joke. If you've seen the commercial, it's one of the coolest things we've got going out right now. And a couple Booster Club members, guys, are getting close. So if you go to jeremysrazors.com/play to get your unique referral link, share it around with all your friends, your family, your crazy neighbor. We all have it. Mine came over and got some pickled banana pepper, mason jars for pickled banana peppers yesterday. Your Amazon delivery driver, whoever, just when someone uses that link, they'll get $12 off the Founder Series Shave Kit, and you'll get store credit for upcoming Jeremy's Razors products, and you'll both earn points to have a chance to win Jeremy's McLaren, all right? So that is jeremysrazors.com/play. Go there right now, use that referral link, and you could be absolutely riding in style. You could feel like Billy Napier did with Anthony Richardson yesterday and watch a McLaren run up and down the field and up and down the street.
I think Cohn's laser rocket arm is in the top 10 right now on the giveaway. Maybe I can work something out where, I can drive it once a month or something.
Well, look, I feel like if it's a Booster Club member, we own 10% of the car, right? If
nice.
They win, isn't that the truth?
Yes.
Isn't that the deal?
The real question is why did I not get any banana pickled peppers or whatever you just said?
Well, they're not done yet. He had to come over to get the mason jars because I guess that's how you pickle things in. Okay. But speaking of pickles, the Tennessee defense was in a pickle the whole night yesterday. I was surprised. Look, Tennessee won the game. You just had to get off the schneid, all right, against Florida. It's like you're like 1 for your last 16. That'd be like me facing Jacob deGrom. I don't know where the 1 would come from, but it may be there. I may run into one of the fastballs if I guess early. It's amazing when you look at this stat line, okay? 24 of 44 for 453 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But when you look at the carries, 17 for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. And guess how many of them were scrambles, guys? 2. What did I say the magic number was for quarterback designed runs that Florida needs to have to be able to open up the pass game a little bit? 15. Right on the dot. You saw Q lead, insert. I think you saw power read one time. They were, especially on 4th down. Florida was like 5 for 6 on 4th down. The only one they didn't get, they got stuffed on that first drive. But I thought finally there was some balance between the quarterback run game that was such a threat. You saw Tennessee doing what? Starting to come down a little bit. And you started seeing layers in that defense, and that play action game started to expand those layers and expand those gaps. And Anthony Richardson, when he would move around, would have guys wide open, just rolling left, rolling right. Guys would find space because Tennessee didn't keep him in what? The pocket. You have got to make Anthony Richardson beat you from the pocket, and they didn't do it. Now, on the flip side, Hendon Hooker, who's the best hooker in Tennessee, we all know that, had a pretty daggum good game, efficient as hell, 22 of 28 for 350, 2 tugs, 97 QBR rating. But, guys, that was just a good football game yesterday. Tennessee, I don't think played very well. I don't think in the first, especially in the first half. But defensively, guys, here's the question about Tennessee. Defensively, do we really believe in them?
I mean, I believe in him to do what? To win the national championship?
To be good enough to beat Bama. Like, to be good enough to do the things that Tennessee wants to do. They look better to me, but they don't seem like they're physical enough on defense yet. They did get pushed around a little bit. It doesn't seem like they're physical enough on defense yet to be able to go ahead and break through the way some people think.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, this is a Florida team that Utah has a good defense, right? Utah's a good football team, and Florida was able to beat them. I know that was a home game. So to me, if you're Tennessee and you give up a touchdown late, which you shouldn't have, and then give up an onside kick, which you shouldn't have, and everything you're saying about Tennessee's defense is true with Anthony Richardson's success throughout the game, and you still found a way to win the football game, I feel like you have to be feeling pretty good if you're a Tennessee fan right now. Hendon Hooker was the difference maker, and we knew that when Josh Heupel took the job, it would be Tennessee's offense that was going to kind of set the tone. And our question a year ago, Jake, was can Tennessee's defense, find ways to get off the field with the offense going that fast for them to be a balanced team? I think what you saw yesterday was, balanced enough to beat a good Florida team at home. And you haven't beaten that program in a while in Neyland. And so to me, if you're a Tennessee fan, the Georgia and the Alabama games just got a little more interesting. This isn't something where Tennessee has no shot to win the division or even win the conference. That's something Tennessee fans haven't been able to say in a while. And so kudos to them on a big win.
No, without a doubt. And Blaine, when you look at Tennessee with those matchups against Alabama and Georgia coming up, is Tennessee a top 5 team in your eyes right now?
Yes.
Really?
I think you could put him at 5. Hell, I think you even have the conversation of putting him at 4. After I know Michigan won, but I still have a lot of questions about Michigan, especially on their defense. We talk about Tennessee, and if we go back to last year, what was our one big question? Their defense was terrible.
The depth
last year. But they have what? Statistically, they have what? They have improved this year. Now, their secondary has a lot of questions. I really don't mind them in the box. I don't think they're bad. But I go back to this Florida game and Billy Napier. First of all, Billy Napier, it doesn't matter on 4th down. It doesn't matter.
No, he's just going. A number.
He's going. I saw him go for one on his own 35. Like, he's going. He was.
Well, was that more, Blaine? Was that more because Tennessee, he didn't want the defense out on the field so much with Tennessee operating at that pace, and he knew, and he was right, he was going to have to score touchdowns, not field goals. And you had one punt like going halfway in the third quarter, I think. But do you think that was more of because they were playing Tennessee, or do you think that's more because that's who Billy is?
I think that's who Billy is. Maybe a little bit of both. I guess two things would be true at once. But this was in the first half, right? This was in the first half of the game. Like this is still a legitimate game. You went for it on fourth 6 times. I know field goals instead of touchdowns, but Tennessee still blew their first 2 drives. They're still in the game. You got them at the end of the day. I love it. I mean, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. But the one thing I liked about what Florida did, and it kind of goes back to what David said, they pitched backwards. All right, that's what they did. They threw the ball more on first down than they have ever thrown the entire year. And what do? They pushed the ball down the field. They were averaging 5 yards of completion. I know his completion percentage wasn't great, but he pushed the ball down the field. And what did that do? It opened up the run. And once you saw that, you still averaged 3 yards a run, but you had to account for it, to go back to what you said, Jake. But you saw Anthony Richardson in this game beat Tennessee from the pocket. You saw him stepping up, feeling the presence in the pocket to make those throws. And it kind of goes back to what AR-15 needs to do, and that's consistency. Because if he's this is a guy we saw against Utah. All right. This is a guy. I
thought he was even better, Blaine. I thought he was even better.
I wouldn't disagree with you, but there is no reason why, what are we in, week 4? Week 4, that Anthony Richardson should be getting his first touchdown pass. There is no reason for that at all. He's too good of a player. But then let's go back to Tennessee. Hendon Hooker, in my opinion, is the second best quarterback in the SEC. All right, that's me. I put him over Will Levis. I put him over Stetson Bennett.
Over Will Rogers?
Over Will Rogers, yeah. I'd put him over Will Rogers. I feel like he can do more. He can throw almost just as good. You can say Will's more accurate, but Hendon's accurate and he can run. So versatility, I mean, he can do more things. Obviously, he's going to put you higher on the list. But this Tennessee team, if they can turn into a defense that bend but doesn't break and can get turnovers, they can play with the Georgias and Bamas. Do I think they'll beat Georgia? No. I don't know if their defense is good enough to get them over that hump. But that Alabama game, all right, that Alabama game will be so interesting to see the spread on that. Bama will be favored, but not much. By not much. This Tennessee team is the best they've looked in a long time. Good for Tennessee fans. This was a big win, and I had the under, so I hate both of y'all for that.
Hey, I will say this. We got a $5 donation from Justin Decker. That's going to take us to our next game. He says, guys, Brian Harsin's been handcuffed from the start, but it seems now it's going to get worse before it gets better. Do they need to just go ahead and fire him now? Appreciate the donation there, Justin. 2 things can be true at once, okay? And I feel like sometimes emotionally we get, you pick one side or the other instead of being able to see like the whole thing, to be able to see the beach through the forest. Brian Harsin got a raw deal from the boosters in the offseason, in my opinion. I agree with that. The way they went about it was wrong. Now, were they wrong in theory to think that Brian Harsin couldn't do this? That's looking like they were actually right, but they went about it the wrong way. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. But also, Brian Harsin can lack the ability to be able to not only recruit and go get good players from the portal, but adjust during games. What did you see after Auburn got off their script early in the game after they scored 14 points? Nothing, nada, nilch. They handed the ball to Tank early. They were giving it to him. They were feeding it, and there was no adjustments. And Missouri, whose defense, let me go ahead and break the news to you, isn't exactly great, okay, pushed Auburn around, should have won the game. Missouri blew the game, okay, which, to be honest with you, I want Auburn fans to listen to me. What happened yesterday in Jordan-Hare at the end was the worst possible thing that could have happened for Auburn and Auburn fans. Auburn winning that game does nothing but prolong the inevitable. It's like giving somebody, a shot of happy juice for an extra, day of life when you're terminally ill. It's just a matter of time before this happens. So the Jordan-Hare magic that I said we might see against Penn State, you saw it yesterday, and it was in full force. But make no mistake, Auburn's not a good football team. Missouri's not a good football team. Those were 2 bad football teams. And guess what? LSU comes next week. I don't know how Auburn's going to score, but that team right there has absolutely no chance. That coaching staff right there has absolutely no chance. And I feel sorry for the guys on Missouri's sideline that aren't kickers. The running back, it should have never got to that point. You saw the kicker on the sideline say, oh, well, I felt pressure to my left. It's a 26-yard field goal. That's something to me as a player. It would be hard for there not to be a verbal altercation in the locker room between me and the kicker you just missed it. You choked. Missouri absolutely blew it, and that was the worst thing that could have happened for Auburn. The worst thing.
Yeah, watching Auburn yesterday, I was thinking back to my time at Michigan. My first 2 years there under Coach Carr, we won 20 games. We went to the Rose Bowl. We beat Florida and Tim Tebow in the Citrus Bowl, and then Rich Rodriguez took over my junior year, and we won 3 games. And that snapped like a 35-year bowl streak, something like that. And what Coach Rodriguez said in the media was, the cupboard is bare. We just don't have the players here. And I was thinking, when we would hear that as players, these are the same guys that won 20 games the last 2 years, right? So when I see Coach Harsin come in, I understand that in his second year at Auburn, he doesn't have the guys maybe to go beat Georgia and to beat Alabama. He doesn't have the guys he recruited to be able to win the conference. But if you're telling me that the Auburn Tigers, they don't have the talent to be able to thoroughly beat Missouri at home, then I'm just not buying it. So at some point, it does become a coaching issue. Now, if you're a pro Brian Harsin guy and you still are on that train and you think that he needs more time, the good news is he's going to get his opportunity, because the rest of that schedule, other than what one game in there, other than that, you're going to have LSU, A&M, Alabama, Georgia. You're going to get plenty of opportunities.
Cone, it's Western Kentucky, brother. Western Kentucky is better than Auburn.
Western Kentucky, the week before Alabama. Other than that, it is an absolute gauntlet. So if you're pro Brian Harsin and you think that he is the guy, he's going to get plenty of opportunities to be able to keep his job.
Yeah. Well, Blaine, I'm sick of the excuses. You know what I'm saying? It's always an excuse or something with Brian Harsin. It's not my fault. My family really doesn't like it here. Auburn's offensive line is pathetic. It's the worst offensive line I've ever seen Auburn have. Will Friend, if I'm Brian Harsin, to try and save myself, if I do want to be saved, I'm firing Will Friend today. That dude has come nothing. They couldn't block somebody on Facebook. It's so soft. I haven't seen that many run-throughs since we all got food poisoning when we went to play a Sun Belt game my sophomore year at South Alabama. It's disgusting. It's disgusting watching Auburn play, and that's on Brian Harsin. And it's sad because there's some guys on that staff that know it's bad, that are actually good coaches. And I don't want to stick on this too long because Auburn really, in the scheme of things this year, is not going to be a contender. It's not really going to matter. And I want to move on to some teams that really matter. But Blaine, quick thoughts from you.
2 words: fire him. You got to fire him.
You got to.
If you're a pro Brian Harsin guy, then explain it to me.
Then you're fired too.
Sit me down and explain it to me. What has he done well? We've only gotten worse since he's been in Auburn. Recruiting doesn't do well. I still go back to the transfer portal, and I heard, and I'm not 100% on this, that Zach Calzada got hurt during a wiffle ball game, diving for a wiffle ball.
No way, bro. Don't tell me that.
If that's true, one, don't look at me in the locker room. 2, Brian Harsin needs to handle that to the max. You went 3 for 16 on third down and averaged 1.8 yards a carry with Tank Bigsby. That is beyond awful. There's a couple guys on that defense who can play. Other than that, not really.
Derek Hall, Auburn, there's a couple.
Auburn is slowly spinning down the drain right now, because if we're going to get to the point where we're talking about, well, we won and beat a Missouri team by 3, we're in that lower tier of the SEC where it's Vandy, us, and Missouri. All right, that's it. So if we want to stay there, keep Brian Harsin. If not, then you got to let him go. I don't want to see anybody fired ever. I wish you did a great job, but it's beyond bad at this point. And as an Auburn fan, we need to come out and get this done. I agree with you, Jake. I tweeted this. The worst thing that happened to Auburn was to win this game. And I feel for Eli Drinkowitz, because you can only do so much with your coaching. Your players blew it.
Yeah, Josh Reagan, send me your question there, producer Justine. I see if we missed one in the ACC. Look, Boston College got murdered by Florida State. Okay, like Florida State, they're legitimate. They're legitimate, but I'm so surprised to see Boston College with Jeff Hafley. He's a guy that I was really excited about there. Look, it's 1 year. We'll see how it goes, but FSU absolutely pulled their pants down in front of everybody, kind of like Western Kentucky did to FIU, like we mentioned earlier. But I want to say in the SEC real quickly before we move on, Arkansas and Texas A&M, hell of a game. And it's funny on Twitter, because again, I talked about Max Johnson, and I believe that Max needs to be the guy, and eventually he would be the guy, and he was, and I cut a lot of hell on that. And then I tweeted last night, Max Johnson as a starter, 2-0, beat 2 ranked teams. Oh, we'll talk about we'll get a brief preview of the NC State Clemson game. We're actually going to have that, Josh, in our keys to victory this week. I don't want to jump the shark too much because we want to see the sharps come out as well. So you know us, we'll be previewing that one, like me going to Top Gun Maverick and wait before the movie comes on. But guys, Max Johnson, quarterback is not all about throwing the ball. Me and Aaron Murray were talking about this on Twitter last night. When you look at the numbers, I'll pull them up right here. The numbers don't just absolutely jump out to you. Max was 11 of 21 for 161 yards and 1 touchdown. A-Chain went absolutely bananas. They didn't have a receiver over 50 yards, but they did have that 1 touchdown reception. But it's the fluidity of the offense. Well, what is A&M not doing? They're not turning the ball over.
Yep.
They're not putting the defense in bad situations. And you know what that offense is doing? It's giving the defense hope that, we can actually score. Like, we're not as deficient like they were with Haynes King out there, and it makes A-Chain better. And I know I hated to see Anias go down last night, but it makes those guys better. It makes the offensive line better. It makes the run game better. But some of the throws that Max made with pressure in his face, the touchdown, I think they ran smash, which is where you got just on the two-man side, you get a hitch or a little bit of an in, and you get a corner by number 2, the inside receiver. Bang, bang. And what you're trying to do is you read that corner, and if that corner sits on the hitch, you throw it to the back pylon to that guy running the corner. If he bites back, you throw the underneath. We used to try and call windshield it, where we'd kind of play both of them, which is tough to do, muddy up the read for the quarterback. But he made some throws off his back foot last night. He had one where he dropped the snap because it wasn't a good snap, picked it up, was rolling to his left, and threw an absolute dime piece. I'm talking about Kim K walking into the club at about 1:30 at night, dime piece into the corner for a huge first down. And he had some plays with his legs that were huge as well. It's not all about the yardage. They are playing smart football offensively. They are moving the chain somewhat, and they're able to be competent at quarterback because guess what? Max Johnson can actually throw the ball, which, while it's important, isn't the only thing, Cone.
Well, I can't tell you how many picks I've thrown in practice by corners trying to midpoint the smash.
That's
so
exactly
I wish y'all
right.
would stop doing that. Yeah, well, look, you're talking about Max Johnson being able to throw the ball. You know what he can do even better is lead the team. Okay, so when you and I were saying that Max Johnson needs to get a chance at quarterback over Haynes King, it wasn't because he was going to come in and win the Heisman Trophy. If that's what Texas A&M fans want, if they want Johnny Manziel and they want a quarterback running around and they want to stand on the podium in New York at the end of the year, then yeah, Max Johnson isn't your guy, and I don't know what to tell you. But if you want a guy who can come in and has a high floor and who won't turn the ball over and will find a way late in games to win the ball game.
Coney, we lose you?
Yeah, I think we lost Cone there. He's exactly right, though, in what he's saying.
No, I agree.
Max Johnson is the steady hand, and he doesn't panic. You saw Haynes King, he turned into Jody Foster off Panic Room every time stuff started moving around in front of him. He'd pump fake wide open guys. I mean, he was pump faking apparitions and ghosts. Yeah, he looked uncomfortable. It'd be like me walking into chemistry class to take the final. Everybody knows how uncomfortable I was then. Yeah. But no, look, again, and when I tweeted that out last night, some guy was like, oh, I can point out 5 quarterbacks that do better every weekend. I'm not talking about Max Johnson winning the Maxwell Award, even though his name's in it. I'm not saying he's going to win the Davy O'Brien. I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. I'm saying he is better than what Haynes King was for Texas A&M. This isn't some huge, this isn't Pythagorean's theorem or the Da Vinci Code where you got to go figure out what I'm saying. But I will give a shout out. Mr. B Winning with a $5 donation says that, Florida, did you watch any of the Florida State game yesterday? I know BC isn't a great team, but Florida State looks good. Listen, again, it's kind of like what we said about Kansas. And I know the difference in tradition between Kansas and Florida State is miles apart, 5,000 miles apart, but they're both somewhat complete teams. The teams that are the most dangerous are the teams that can beat you in multiple ways. And Florida State is showing you that they are competent on defense. They can win a low-scoring slugfest like LSU where they don't make the mistakes, or they can come out and light the scoreboard up like you saw against Louisville and win somewhat of a shootout. That's how you know that Florida State has arrived. They don't panic in either situation. They have an answer in every situation. And balance, I'll say it again, keeps you on the beam. So I think the difference in Florida State this year, and you can point to personnel, you can point to,
They are
Travis
better.
and Rodemaker coming in. They are better. They do have better players, it looks like, in that roster. And you'd expect that out of Mike Norvell after 3 years. But what I'm seeing is there is not one side of the ball that you point at and go, that's a problem for us. That's what's going to cost us. That we're bad on this side of the ball. You're good enough in all three phases, special teams, offense, and defense, to be able to go out there and compete and fight. And that is what you have to be able to do to withstand not only the one big game or the two big games, but the battle of attrition that you have throughout the season.
Well, that kind of brings us to their schedule real quick. And I mean, let's break into it, because it's starting to get really real right now. You have after BC, you got Wake Forest this upcoming weekend at home. God, this 3-game stretch. You go to NC State, and then you have Clemson at home. So we're going to find out. Then you got Georgia Tech at home. Then you go to Miami and at Syracuse. Then you have Florida at home at the end of the year. But I'm good for Mike Norvell. All right, Mike Norvell needed this. His team looks a lot better. They do look more complete. I mean, really point out a weakness, and they have NFL players on their team, and you saw that against LSU. So they're only going to get better. I still think they might lose all 3 of these games in this 3-game stretch. But a great chance of winning Miami, and that Florida game will be interesting. So good for Mike Norvell. He needed this, his team, his job. His seat's cooling down a little bit. So that's
I think it's permafrosted. I mean, I don't even think it's hot anymore. Just like Dino Babers' seat went from, volcano magma hot to he's selling popsicles from underneath it right now. While you see Eli Drinkowitz, you look at Eli Drinkowitz now after that loss to Auburn, that seat could be heating up the way that they lost.
Poor Eli, man.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. I think it was the right call to go play for the field goal. I think it was the right call. I thought it was the right move. But guys, I do want to move. Dylan Meadows, thank you, my friend. $5.90 or $4.99 donation. We will have the beer at the Floweth today on Red Zone. Can't wait. Shout out to our buddy Scott Hansen. By the way, go ahead and like this video and subscribe as well. We're dropping stuff. We go live every morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. College football, NFL, Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge is on home run watch. I loved the screen yesterday when Aaron Judge was at the plate, where they would show you the game.
A lot of people hated that.
I liked it. Look, I want to see it. A lot of people hated that. I want it. You're helping me out.
There's only certain teams and certain players you should box in on a Saturday with college football, and the Yankees and Aaron Judge is damn sure one of them.
That's exactly right. Cone, welcome back to Earth, my friend.
Dave. Oh, replacement Cone up to his old tricks.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Adam, he's got a lot of China in him. But speaking about somebody that got absolutely surprised yesterday, and I shouldn't even say it's a surprise, because it's like there's teams that have teams' numbers, right? Kansas State just has Oklahoma's number. It doesn't matter who the coach is, who the quarterback is, when they play, where they play. It just seems like the Wildcats have the Sooners' number. And the most surprising thing about this yesterday, Adrian Martinez running for over 100 yards,
bald,
doesn't surprise me. Deuce Vaughn running for over 100 yards, sure as hell doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is when Adrian Martinez, who's not exactly Aaron Rodgers when it comes to accuracy and throwing the ball, goes 21 for 34 for 235 yards and a touchdown with a QBR of 91.5. All right, and I know Dylan Gabriel balled. I know he balled. I mean, he went 26 to 39 for 330 and 4 touchdowns, and then ran 7 for 61 yards. But Adrian Martinez took that game over when he had to, and it seemed to me that the same team that lost to Tulane in Kansas State, which it looked like they were overlooking them now, looks like they were looking past Tulane into Oklahoma, and I should have seen that when I bet it. But does this say more, Cone, about Kansas State? Or does this say more about Oklahoma? Because I had Oklahoma winning the Big 12 with their only loss at Iowa State. Now, they could still obviously do it. Texas went down to Texas Tech yesterday, and we know about Baylor. But who does this say more about?
I have to say Kansas State at this point. I mean, you want to talk about a redemption story. What Adrian Martinez did yesterday, like, I was glued to the television set. I loved watching it. I have always loved Kansas State as a program. Darren Sproles on the cover of NCAA. And when I only had them winning 2 conference games in my preseason predictions, I had a lot of Kansas State fans reach out and say, we're going to win more games than that. And I said, yes, I do. I just don't know which ones they are, because the Big 12 right now is so competitive. competitive. You know, I knew
Yeah.
Texas would be on the come up. Oklahoma's going to be strong. Baylor, Oklahoma State. So it's always a question of which ones will they win. I don't think many people other than Kansas State fans had the Wildcats going into Norman yesterday and beating Oklahoma, but that's exactly what they did. It was a fantastic football game. I think Kansas State, the question again is, can you replicate it? Can you replicate that against Oklahoma State or against Baylor or against Texas, or even if you have to go on the road somewhere to like a West Virginia or TCU or something like that? Fantastic football game. Look, Oklahoma's going to slip in the polls. We know that, but I think that everything they want is still out there in front of them. They can still win the conference, and they're still going to be putting up big numbers.
Blaine, do you see this as kind of something where Oklahoma because offensively, I mean, you played pretty well. Defensively with Brent Venables, and you mentioned it. I got to give you credit. The linebackers in coverage are a liability for Oklahoma. They're not bad going downhill, but in coverage, they're stiff in the hips. They're not really able to open and run. And when you're in man, or you're going to blitz and lead the backers, and they have peel rules, or they got to identify. That puts you in a very tough spot. Thanks for the $2 donation there. Justin Decker, he said more mid. Missouri's kicker or Auburn as a team. I think right now you have to say while both are super mid, Missouri's kicker is absolutely just super mid.
Yeah, well, I go back to Brett Venables right now just doesn't have the personnel on defense. It's going to take a couple of years, but they look more physical. I mean, they don't tackle well, but Brett's got them believing. I'll never question Oklahoma's offense, especially with Jeff Lebby there. He's a witch of the highest order. But it's going to take a couple of years, and this was going to happen. All right, Oklahoma's going to drop one, and this might not be a bad thing for Oklahoma. No one wants to lose a game ever, but Brett Venables, they're going to learn from this. They're going to start playing better, especially on defense. But give it a couple of years. Let Coach Venables get his guys in there, and I promise you that defense, well, you won't even have to see them run a play. You can look at them coming off the bus, and it will look a lot better. So give him a couple of years. Good for Kansas State, though. I'm not surprised by this. I was surprised by the quarterback play and the way he threw it, but Deuce Vaughn's an absolute witch. I mean, that little kid can play. He still can't touch all the buttons.
Blaine said
he can run the ball.
Blaine said before the game, let that child run the ball.
Yeah, that
and run it he did. And run it he did. And you're talking about give him a couple years. Well, in a couple years, they're going to be in the SEC. So the defense better be dialed by then.
Well, I mean, at this point, you don't have another option. So, I mean, it's not going to, unless you get it all the portal next year or you recruit some guys from Lithuania. I don't know, but it's in basketball, so it's going to take a couple of years.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Paul Jenkins says, look, Navy got their first win and nothing else matters. Huge win going to ECU. I was shocked. I actually took ECU minus 13.5. They looked me in the eyes and lied to me. I'll never forgive you, and I'll never forget. Moving on, the rest of the Big 12 team that I did take money line who came through for the kid, Baylor. 31-24. Blake Shapen. He's such a shortstop. If you watch, so he was a very high-rated baseball prospect. He's a shortstop. You can just watch this guy play. He's got shortstop written all over him with the way he throws, the way he's able to change platform. It's almost like he's more comfortable throwing while he's moving than he is sitting in the pocket. He goes 19 for 26, a smooth 238, 3 tugs with a nice QBR of 80.1. You know, there were some penalties for Iowa State. I thought the targeting was an absolute joke that they called in the first half. The officials, I think, had too much to do with the game early. They didn't have the final say, though. I thought Baylor's defense really tightened up a little bit there. You look in the third quarter, they give up 0 points. They did give up 10 and have to recover an onside kick late, lost a couple guys. But, you know, Dave Aranda, and if you look, Dave Aranda is actually the leading candidate for the odds right now to get the Nebraska job. I just don't believe that. I don't see why he would leave Baylor. But it seems to me like Baylor, guys, has an identity. They stick to that identity, and they're able to adjust, even though that's their main identity. What they realized was, all right, Iowa State is loading the box. They're loading the box and saying, we dare you to throw the ball. We dare you to run play action because we think we can get there. So what did Baylor do? Something they really never do. They played unpredictable on first down. The amount of times I saw Baylor run play action on first down or throw the ball on first down, whether it was that little slip and then they'd get in 2nd and 4 and they'd run that toss to the field, that little G toss. Whenever I'd see them get in there and be unpredictable on first down, that offense looked so much more explosive than what it has lately. They were finding guys over the middle. They were taking advantage of balls deep. It was opening up holes in the run game. Guys, I think this Baylor offense, if they're able to play like that and be unpredictable on early downs, can actually be an offense that could lead this team in big moments.
Go ahead, Blaine.
No, I would agree. And I think people really I think you see it more this year than you have last year. First down is such an important down.
It's huge.
It's such an important down. It almost dictates the rest of your drive, and you're starting to see a lot of teams that you're not used to seeing really switch it up on first down. And you saw Baylor do that. Baylor's a good football team on both sides of the ball.
They know who they are.
Yeah, they know their identity. They know who they are, and they were explosive. And once Baylor turns into an explosive offense, then you should be worried because Aranda's going to have that defense plan. So I don't really know what the ceiling is for these guys, but they're going to be a good football team, and they're going to be able to compete with everybody in their conference. That's for sure.
Cone, what do you think?
Yeah, no, look, when I saw that Iowa State was favored in this game, Jake, just like you, I jumped all over it and took Baylor money line. I feel like Iowa State always does this. They figure out a way to lose the big games when they're favored. Baylor is just a really good football team. And again, my thing is I'm looking at the Oklahoma game. I'm looking at Oklahoma State. I'm looking at when they play Texas. I think Baylor still has a shot to potentially win this conference. The game against BYU, they got out physicaled up front, but everything that Baylor wants is right there for the taking as it relates to the Big 12 title.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Go ahead and hit like as well, guys. Appreciate y'all. The chat's absolutely popping right now. Guys, before we do get into the Pac-12, I do want to talk about Texas really quick, losing Donovan Smith. I mean, you go 38 of 56 for 331, 2 touchdowns after a tough game last week. You heard Coach McGuire say, and this is a huge win for him. You talk about getting off to a good start. Beating Texas early in your coaching career at Texas Tech is a good formula for down the road. If you look at Texas, though, defensively, you give up 7 in the first, 7 in the second. Then we talk about halftime adjustments, right? And we know Sark is a witch, 100% witch. In the third quarter, Texas Tech outscores Texas 10-7. In the fourth, they outscore them 10-3, and in overtime, they outscore them 3-0. They got bounced in the first half. You're down 24-14. Texas is moving the ball. They're able to stop you. Donovan Smith is having to really move around and force things. Then in the second half, you go into halftime. You make your adjustments. You come out and you score 23 points in the second half, and you're able to win. Just a huge win for Texas Tech. But how big of a loss, guys, is this for Texas moving forward? You look good against Alabama. Hey, we're possibly back. You beat a scrappy UTSA team that was their Super Bowl, and you're coming off that tough physical game against Bama, as I mentioned. But then you go and drop one to Texas Tech. Is this a season-defining moment for Texas, Blaine?
No, I don't think so. It's really confusing. I'm sick of Texas's defense doing this. I mean, you go back and look at it. I mean, Hudson Card played good. There's a plays out there he wished he could have had back. And I think this game would have been different with Quinn at quarterback. I really do.
Well, he didn't play defense.
I know, but I said they scored more than 34 points. I bet you they scored more than 34 points. I bet you it's in the 40 range. I mean, with Quinn, I guarantee you it's in the 40 range. But I got a time of possession. I mean, Texas Tech had 36 minutes of possession. I mean, Texas only 24. I mean, and you really look, you give up 479 total yards. You give up 6 yards a pass, and rushing, you give up 150 yards. The biggest thing for Texas Tech's going to come out and sling the football. That's just who they are. But you give up 150 yards rushing. That can't happen. Texas defense comes back and lets you down. But I still think Texas is good enough to play with anybody in this conference. Quinn comes back in a couple weeks. I mean, they have guys on that offense that you look at and like those are NFL players. Bijan Robinson is an NFL player. Isaiah Worthy, receiver, is an NFL player. Hell, their backup looks like an NFL running back. So I think Texas will be okay. I still think they're going to compete in a lot of games. We'll be on the other end of this a couple games during the year. Mm-hmm. But let's get Quinn back and let's see how they do. I still think they can score more points on the offensive side.
No, exactly. I mean, this is a bad loss for Texas, but I don't think it's a season-defining loss for Texas. And after they lost down the wire to Alabama, I said 2 things. One, I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama finds a way to run the table, and I wouldn't be surprised if Texas still ends up finishing 7-5 with Quinn Ewers going out, because at that point we didn't know the status of the injury. And not to say that Hudson Card can't come in and play, but Texas is going to have the opportunities to win big football games. You still got the Red River Shootout coming up. You're still going to play Baylor. You're still going to play Oklahoma State. And Texas Ed in the chat here is saying, is the Big 12 the best conference right now, top to bottom? I don't know if I would say the best conference, but with a few years ago or last year when the news broke that Texas and Oklahoma would be joining the SEC, Jake, you and I looked at each other and said, is the Big 12 even going to survive? And if you look at the state of the Big 12 right now as we sit here, I know that Oklahoma and Texas are still in the conference, but when you look at what Kansas State's able to do and you look at Baylor and Oklahoma State, I mean, the Big 12 is entertaining, it's healthy, and it's competitive.
Well, that's why you're only going to see those profiles rise, right? That's why I keep saying, why would Dave Aranda leave Baylor right now? Because Oklahoma and Texas are gone, and it may happen, by next year. At the rate these things are going and changing, I don't see this taking until 2025. I think 2024 at the latest. But when Oklahoma and Texas leaves, who is there to fill that vacuum? Well, the teams that are going to have the first dibs on it are the teams that are playing the best right now. Who is that? Baylor, Kansas State. You look at a team like TCU that can sneak in there and grab a little bit of glory now that Texas is gone. So it creates a vacuum, and I know BYU's coming over, Cincinnati's coming over, Houston's coming over. I get UCF's coming over. Those are all great ads, but it does create that vacuum at the top. And if you're a guy like Dave Aranda and Baylor, this is your chance to jump onto the Big 12's here to stay, right? We were talking about the Big 12 last year around this time, the way we're talking about the Pac-12 right now. Like, how long is this going to go? What do they need to do? And it looks like the Pac-12 is even turning that around a little bit. And it's a good segue into where we want to go. But I want to go Big Ten real quick, Cone. Maryland, Michigan. This game was back and forth. We said we didn't know about Michigan. I know you can only play who you play, and they beat Hawaii to death, and they beat Mary Margaret and the blind and deaf sister school 75-0. But we found out really what Michigan was about. All right. And defensively, I'm looking, Conan. I don't want to take away anything from little Tua. I don't want to take away anything from Mike Loxley, who's a hell of a coach, and they do have some talent over there. If you've ever recruited the DMV, that's a heck of a place to recruit. There's guys crawling all over the place. But Michigan's defense a little bit to me, and I know the leading rusher for Maryland only had 46 yards. I know that Tua only threw for 207, and he had the 2 interceptions, which was huge, including the big one in the first half. But when I look at this Michigan team, are they as dominant, Cone, as they were last year when you look at personnel and potential? I know this game wasn't as dominant, and Maryland scored late to make it look closer, but kind of what are your thoughts as a Michigan alum?
I give Michigan a C- grade yesterday. It would be lower except for the fact that Michigan started hot. I think they did the things at the end of the game to be able to win the football game, which is great, and made some second half adjustments. And Blake Corum is one of the best backs in this country, period. Yeah. So, but other than that, Jake, we talked a lot about the 2 quarterback system at Michigan entering the season. What we didn't talk a lot about is the 2 offensive coordinator system at Michigan. And I think that you're seeing that be problematic here early. J.J. McCarthy running around in the backfield and scrambling as if he's Fran Tarkington reincarnate or something can maybe work a couple times against Hawaii and UConn, or maybe you even get away with it against Maryland. But I look at Michigan games different than most other fans do. Every play, I'm saying, would this work against the Buckeyes? That's what I'm saying. And when you're running around scrambling in the backfield and you're giving up sacks, to me, you're not going to be able to win the conference or make the college football playoff again by doing that. Another thing is on 3rd and 4 and 3rd and 5, there's no need to have 3 wide receivers 20-plus yards down the field. Not everything needs to be a shot. That's what really confused me yesterday with Michigan's offense. We're sitting there taking shots. First of all, they were all overthrown. Okay, so if J.J. McCarthy connects on all those shots, I know that the band's going to strike up and everyone's going to say he's going to be a Heisman Trophy favorite. To me, I would still look at that and say, why aren't we completing 7-yard passes on 3rd and 5? Right? Why aren't we completing 9-yard passes on 3rd and 6? That was my question about J.J. McCarthy. Can he be a throw-first quarterback and be patient and take what the defense gives him rather than a run-first quarterback, and then when we are throwing the ball, throwing deep shots down the field? Yeah. I'll say this, though. If you're a Michigan fan, first of all, for Maryland, we can't just look at this Maryland team as just some Maryland team that you barely beat by 7. Mike Loxley, you can't be the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban at Alabama unless you can coach football. So that was a great hire by Maryland. You go and get Talua Tagovailoa out of the transfer portal, a former Alabama quarterback. I mean, this is a good football team. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they really locked down Michigan, and they were able to do anything they wanted offensively. So shout out to Maryland, first of all. And then if you're a Michigan fan, at least you can come away saying this. 1, a win's a win, right? And 2, everything, we're still going to be able to grow as a team, and we made second half adjustments and made the big plays when it matters. Yeah. So I think that if you're a Michigan fan, you can come away saying that.
No, I'm with you. I do want to rapid fire through this Big Ten and make sure we get to the Pac-10. I'm not calling it the Pac-12 because USC and UCLA are leaving. And in reality, that means I should be calling the Big 12. They're losing 2 and gaining 4, so I should call them, the oversized 14. But Minnesota runs through Michigan State. Mel Tucker, glad you got that extension, buddy, because you guys look like absolute hot dog water. Defensively, and Minnesota looks good. I'm not the biggest PJ Fleck fan. all right, in the
You're
world.
not?
But that team, after losing one of your top wide receivers, went into Michigan State and absolutely gave them the business. Absolutely, in every single way. Michigan State, first drive in the second half, took it down, and Peyton Thorne fumbled. But Michigan State just looks like a bad football team. You got shut out for 3 quarters. You finally scored a touchdown in the end. The game was already over. Minnesota went into your house in East Lansing, and we've had people come on the show and talk about Michigan State and this, that, and the other. I watched that football. That's a bad football team. All around. Peyton Thorne looks uncomfortable. They don't have a ton of weapons, but the saddest part is the defense. The defense, you had guys lining up wrong. You had guys not getting in gaps. You had guys busting coverages. Minnesota was completing every intermediate pass that they wanted. It was like they were just sitting down in between these zones, and then when Michigan State would try to go man, they couldn't get to the quarterback, and Tanner Morgan just absolutely torched them in every single way. Minnesota's a good football team.
No, I would agree. And I go back a couple weeks, and I said this.
When
When I watched Michigan State play Western Michigan, I watched probably 7 plays, and I knew Michigan State was a bad football team. They're just not good. What are they good at? Kenneth Walker covered up a lot of problems for them last year.
True.
That guy's not walking through that tunnel to go out on that field.
Wait, so Kenneth Walker's not walking through the tunnel?
Or
No, he's
running.
not.
Or running.
Yeah, I mean,
Or even
I don't-
jogging?
He might be jogging. Who knows? Depends on the day. But
It's a soft J.
what are you excited about when you look at defense? They don't really have any impact players on their offense. The quarterback, a lot of people believe them, but he's not getting better. He's only realistically getting worse. So, and I said this on the show when we had someone said they're a top 4 team. When Michigan State plays Michigan, Michigan is going to dog walk. That Michigan might not have to throw a pass. They might not have to throw a pass.
Whoa,
they could
now.
run the ball every play, and still probably win by 21 plus. This Michigan State team is not a good football team. If you're surprised, I don't know why. Walk outside, look up. Yes, that's the sun. It's a real thing. But Michigan State is not good. And then they go to
I
Maryland.
don't think you've been watching the Michigan State rivalry the last few years. Trust me,
No.
they'll find a way.
No,
they'll find
they
a way
won't.
late in the game to block a punt.
No, they
score a late
won't.
touchdown. That's
This
what
Well,
is
they
yeah,
do.
that
they'll
year,
find a way
David.
late in the game to block a punt and lose by 25.
This isn't that year, David. This isn't that year. You could say the same thing about the Auburn-Alabama rivalry.
David's trying to make himself feel better
I
about
know
it
he
by
is.
not getting
I
his
know he is, but
expectations
Look,
up.
I can sit here and be like,
respect
oh,
that.
well, it's the Iron Bowl. You never really know what's going to happen. We're going to get slaughtered, all right? Auburn is going to get slaughtered like Michigan State's going to get slaughtered, all right? It's at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. I don't need anybody else to look at, well, maybe the wind's blowing 7 miles per hour to the west. It doesn't matter.
You got to put your ears to the ground and listen for hoofbeats. That's exactly what you got to do. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Another shocker of the weekend. We talked about Middle Tennessee beating Miami. I don't want to call Kansas State beating Oklahoma a shocker because we've seen the way that game's gone. But you had USC, Oregon State. I think the over-under on this game was 71,000 points, something like that. USC holds on to win 17-14, guys. I could not, but I was watching this game. I was like, guys, USC played Oregon State, and then a Big Ten game broke out. Like it was, there were more points. If you would have told me there'd be more points scored in the Iowa versus Rutgers game than the USC Oregon State game, I would have held you at gunpoint and taken you to the
I love
police
college
station.
football.
I'd have been like, you know what, guys, listen, I found terrorist number 1 on the list because he's an absolute liar. Caleb Williams goes 16 for 36, has a $181 touchdown. Nolan on the other side, 17 to 29, 167 yards. And the difference in the game, 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions. That's what USC did not play well. They shouldn't have scored 17 points. It's
14 in the fourth.
I know. Watching Oregon State operate late was almost sickening if you were a Beaver fan. Because, I mean, you look at the scoring, right? You're up 4 at halftime. It's 7-3 at halftime, which nobody could believe. There's double goose eggs in the fourth, and then you give up 14 points, or excuse me, double goose egg in the third, and then you give up 14. You get outscored 14-7 late. You lost the game, right? We always talk about, what do we talk about, guys? Most teams lose games. They do not win them. This is a great case, nice case study. You put it in the MUFON files of how teams lose games. They don't win them. And look, Oregon State will be fine. What Coach Norman's doing there is absolutely unbelievable. But USC finds a way to escape. And there's always those 1 or 2 games, guys, where the offense isn't clicking and you need that defense to step up and win the game. That's how we talk about, oh, well, Bama versus Texas. What happened? Stepped up at the end. Other side of the ball won the game. This is a great example of that. USC, it's survive and advance, and they definitely survive.
I think that line opened up, plus 13 Oregon State, and everyone in the country jumped on it at Caesars, and then it got down to like plus 6 or something like that. So look, we knew that was going to be a dogfight up in Corvallis, but this is why college football is in such a great place right now. Okay, we're seeing the chaos all around the country. It's good for the sport, and I'd much rather see all of these upsets and close games than to be able for us to come on here and say, well, we know for an absolute fact that Texas will beat Texas Tech, or we know for a fact that USC is going to score 45 and bet the TTP. So this is great for college football.
No, it is without a doubt. And moving on, Oregon State, like I said, they're going to be fine. Keep the faith. Our buddy Sean in the chat said it was absolutely gut-wrenching as a Beaver fan. Believe me, I've been there. I understand that. But you guys have a great season and really got a good year ahead of you guys. And y'all have a good foundation that's being built. Oregon, speaking about foundation, Bo Nix. You want to know who won that trade? Between Robbie Ashford and Bo Nix? Just take a guess. It was Oregon. All right. So Oregon goes and beats Washington State. I felt horrible for Washington State. But again, Oregon won the game. You did what you had to do. Oregon scored 29 points in the fourth quarter. All right. You almost dropped a 30-piece with honey biscuits and French fries there in the fourth after you struggled early. Washington State controlled the game. I mean, Ward, he's got a lot of witch in him. You saw it on that first drive. He goes 37 of 48 for 375 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw 2 picks. He's dynamic on the ground. But Bo Nix, Blaine, goes 33 of 44 for 430 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Brian Harsin, congrats. You're an idiot.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise. You blew it. But let's really think about this Oregon game. Oregon was down, I believe, 13 or 14 with 3 minutes left to go in the fourth
Wild
quarter.
Finish.
That is insane. Well, you got good Bo Nix, bad Bo Nix. In the first half, he was bad Bo Nix. The second half, this is good Bo Nix. But the thing you saw about Bo Nix is what? The kid's got experience. All right. There's nothing you can throw at Bo Nix realistically that's going to surprise him coming from Auburn in that roller coaster ride that you saw there. But Oregon, the team I have winning the Pac-12, after what happened against Georgia, did my hopes get down a little bit? For sure they did. But they're winning.
Yeah, you jumped off the Oregon train. You were ready to bury them.
They got beat 56-3.
Look, like I said,
3.
Yeah. Well, again,
excuse me, David.
I told you.
Excuse me. But no, I still think this Oregon's a good football team. Dan Lanning's got these guys coached up, and they got a lot of fight in them. And they'll be able to compete with the best in the Pac-12. That includes USC. That includes Utah. There are going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I really don't believe any Pac-12 team realistically has a good defense. I mean, you can say Utah's somewhat mediocre after losing their best linebacker. Oregon's, they're okay. USC, I know they only gave up 14 against Oregon State, but I mean, put me at quarterback, we probably have 21 points, let's be honest. But I still believe in Oregon as my Pac-12 champion. Bo Nix, he's focused. He's having fun. He's blown in the first half, but really coming through in the second half.
That's Bo Nix. By the way, should there be any worry about Georgia? Because I just think it's what. And can Brock Bowers win the Heisman? Like Brock Bowers
is Brock Bowers the best player in college football?
Yeah, I think Brock Bowers is the best player in college football.
Man, he might be.
He's like, I'm dead ass serious. Like Brock Bowers,
it's him or Bryce Young, right?
Yeah, like Brock Bowers is out there doing everything. He's like running for 100. He ran. We always talk about Brock Bowers could play running back. Dude took one for like 75 yesterday. I know it's against Kent State, but let me go ahead and give you a hint. Brock Bowers outrunning some of the cats where Kent State is, where they get their players from in the secondary for 70 yards. That's not a walk in the park. Okay, that's absolutely skating, and Brock Bowers is huge. You talk about jacked and tan. That's how Brock Bowers is feeling right now. But Oregon, I'm buying them, guys. I'm buying Oregon right now with crazy Bo Nix. The matchup between Oregon with Bo Nix and Caleb Williams would be nuts. It'd be nuts. People just be running around. I mean, it'll look like GTA. You're just running around. Crazy stuff's happening. Somehow Tank gets on the fields, blowing everything up. It'll just be absolutely nuts.
Hey, and they get Washington and Utah back to back.
Yeah, Washington Cone. What did I say? Kalen DeBoer. They keep doing it. I know David Shaw and Stanford's not exactly, Sherman marching through Atlanta, burning everything down in their wake. But Washington, again, they beat them by 18. They scored a touchdown in every single quarter. Defensively, they shut Stanford out for 2 of the 4 quarters. Stanford got a couple points in garbage time, ended up scoring 15 in the 4th. This Washington team is for real, guys. I had them going 7-2. I had K-State going 7-2 in the Big 12. I'm feeling really, really good about those 2 picks. Looking at them right now, and I'm going to say this, is Washington a contender for the college football playoff? I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, in my opinion, yes.
Yeah, well, look, I don't think you're crazy to say that. Obviously, we're going to find out a lot more. I'm looking at this Oregon schedule right now. It's realistic that they could reel off 5 in a row here. They're going to get Stanford at Arizona. Could be interesting because Arizona's playing better than they have ever, from what I've seen. They get UCLA, Cal, and Colorado. So look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oregon could win their next 5, but then you're going to get Washington and Utah back-to-back at home, and then go to Oregon State. So
at home. Yes.
Which one?
The first 2.
Yeah, they're gonna, and you better be glad you get Washington and Utah at home, because both of those teams can beat you in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Autzen Stadium is absolutely nuts too for nobody that's ever been there. But all right, guys, that's great stuff on the college forefront. We're going to be previewing everything. We got some big guests lined up for this week live. I'm losing my mind right now. 7:30 to 9 Eastern each weekday morning tomorrow. Make sure you check us out. We are about to transition. Not into anything crazy, this isn't a Leah Thomas situation, but we are about to transition into NFL previews, fantasies, all that stuff. Cone, you liked that one, didn't you, up there?
Yeah.
That was a good one. sorry, excuse me. I don't mean to brag on myself. But guys, let's go ahead and flip over here to the NFL. There is some great matchups today. Also in the chat, make sure if you have fantasy questions or anything like that, that you get them in. I've got my bets already lined up, but let's go through, guys, some of the biggest matchups of the NFL, or in the NFL, today. And, I want to start with one that, while it's not going to jump off the pages as the biggest matchup, it's huge for the Titans. We're based out of Nashville. You guys know how big the Titans are here, and we've been trying to embrace them. Our buddy Taylor Lewan out for the year. Want to give a shout out to Tay. Yeah. Hope you're feeling better, my friend. I know it's unfortunate. He's the guy that's battled through injuries. He's tough as nails. But when you look at this game, 2 0-2 teams. Raiders 0-2. We saw what happened against the Cardinals last week. Thank you, Kyler Murray. Fantasy quarterback. It's delicious. All right. How big of a game is this for Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr? Because I tell you what, the Raiders better find a way to get Devontae Adams the ball. But I know that. And if I know that, that means the Titans know that. So is this going to be a game of who balls more, Derrick Henry or Devontae Adams?
Yeah, well, I'm shocked, first of all, that both of these teams are 0-2 right now. And I think that both are looking around like, what do we have to do to win a football game? Look at that debacle last week for the Raiders with the Cardinals coming back. Like, I can't believe it. Disappointing start so far for Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans. I did text Taylor Lewan yesterday after the news came out, because I absolutely hate it for him being out for the season. And look, that's a big piece. That's a big piece missing, not only in the pass game. I mean, left tackle protecting Ryan Tannehill's backside, but also opening up those holes on the left side for Derrick Henry and everything the Titans want to do on the ground game. I was looking at this one close, Jake, and I feel like the Titans figure out a way to win a game at home. Just with what I've seen with the Raiders so far too, nothing gives me confidence that they're going to be able to come in and beat a banged up Titans team.
Yeah, I mean, look, and this is the time of year where you start seeing that attrition kind of take place with injuries. But Blaine, when it comes down to Derek Carr, I know you've been really critical of Derek Carr. Are you a believer that this is a guy that can actually do anything? And look, the AFC West isn't a division where you want to start out 0-2 without playing anybody in the AFC West. I can promise you that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, well, doing anything like there's a ceiling on Derek Carr. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with him. I mean,
no chance. You think no chance with Derek Carr?
Chance. I don't think there's any chance. I don't think he's too inconsistent. And you go back, the Titans' losses and the Raiders' losses aren't equal, right? The Titans got destroyed against the Bills, killed. You don't see NFL teams really get beat down like that. It wasn't even close. The Raiders gave up like 23 points in the fourth quarter and lost. And you usually don't see that. from an experienced team like the Raiders. But I like the Raiders in this game. I feel like they have a better football team. Until Malik Willis is taking snaps at the Tennessee Titans, I will not believe in the Tennessee Titans. You have a receiver playing quarterback for an NFL team. That's what you have. What was Mike Vrabel's biggest thing? Defense. Last year, what were the Titans amazing at? Up front, Titans were one of the best teams
Could run the ball and play defense
in the National Football League. This year, it's not even close. Derrick Henry, not looking like the same guy. All right, I know you can feed him to. Maybe that O-line's not as good, but not looking like the Derrick Henry you usually see. And what do we usually lean on if your running game's not great and your defense is not good? Your quarterback. All right, your quarterback's Ryan Tannehill. So you have certain ceilings around your team that you can't escape. And until changes are made, you put a guy back there, Malik Willis, who's going to make mistakes. But would you rather have a young guy back there making mistakes and still losing, or an old guy back there doing the same thing and still losing? So let's get our young guy some playing time. All right. He's the future of the franchise. That's what he is. It's not Ryan Tannehill. So let's get him in there. Maybe he can make some things shake and we can win some football games.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. You've got to prove it. We've got a $5 donation from Emmanuel.
Hey.
So
yeah.
appreciate it. He says, I know Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes are still playing football, but Tyreek Hill lighting up on the Miami offense is MVP caliber to me. I don't think you're crazy saying that, Emmanuel. And you want to know what helps him out the most? Jalen Waddle being a threat. Mike Gesicki hitting the skedaddle being a threat. Some of the other weapons that they have in Tua making smart decisions with the ball. You can't double everybody. And what you're going to start seeing happen is teams are going to start playing the Dolphins like teams played the Chiefs. They're going to play too high, make you win everything underneath. What is Tua's bread and butter? It's underneath. And when you back both the safeties up, you are taking a safety out of the run game. What do most coaches complain about in practice on offense and inside drill? Oh, well, the safety's not going to be in there. The safety's not going to be in there. In reality, a lot of times the safety is in there. But when you have such threats deep, when you're such a deep threat style team, when you can put Tyreek Hill on one side, Jalen Waddle on the other side, and say, guess what, boys? Let's go on a NASA mission. Like Blaine thought that was the Phoenix Mercury was.
Yes.
Mike Gesicki, you want to talk about opening up for stuff? Mike Gesicki is going to have more good matchups for linebackers than when Manti Te'o goes on Tinder. I'm just telling you guys, when you look at the Dolphins, that they're going to be a serious threat because they can affect all three layers of the defense, and the defense that they have isn't horrible. And you know what? Let's go ahead and get to the Chiefs. Speaking of the Chiefs, Chiefs and Colts, huge game for the Colts. They get back Michael Pittman Jr.
Hey, Jake, can I say one thing about the you were on the Tyreek Hill talking about
MVP,
go
ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this really quick because while the prevailing thought would be, well, Tyreek Hill, yeah, sure, maybe he has MVP talent, but with Jalen Waddle on the other side, they'll take receptions and touchdowns away from each other. So I love that you pointed out that actually helps out with the explosiveness because you can't bracket one of them. But just remember, Jalen Waddle being on that other side, who was the one receiver on the other side of Jalen Waddle when he played at Alabama? Was Devontae Smith, right? Yep. Who won the Heisman Trophy that year?
Yep. Devontae
Smith. So it's not out of the question that one of those wide receivers, even though both of them are lethal and both of them are going to put up big numbers, it's not out of the question that one of them could win the MVP.
Josh Allen's going to win the MVP, guys.
Well, yeah. Well, we're talking about who has
So what happens
chance
when he gets banged up and he misses 6 games?
You're not banging up that thing walking out of the locker room. This isn't Tua. All right. This guy's out here running over guys and hurdling guys and just gets up. He's like Jalen Hurts. He's indestructible.
Yeah, that's okay.
Was he now? I know he's not a 7-footer, Blaine, but would he have been on that 7-foot island where they only let 2 out?
I think he'd have been like the guy who shows you around. Right. He'd been the guy. He's not in the enclosement on the island. You know, it's like a zoo. You're walking around feeding giraffes, but you're with Josh Allen and you're walking around like you're feeding Bamba from the Mavericks, like you're feeding, some other Yao Ming's
guy from Purdue.
I don't see Josh Allen as the maitre d' of an alien zoo.
Well, you know what, David, that's your fault. Okay?
What the hell is a maitre d'?
Why do you know what that word
Blaine's
means?
describing?
What is that? What French? How much babble have you been looking at? What does that word mean?
Look, clearly I'm going to the right restaurants, I guess.
All right, but guys, let's see. Owen Donahue with a $2 donation. Thank you. I think that says 2. Appreciate it. Does the Houston Texans win? All right, we'll go straight to it. We'll come back
against
to
the Bears. Why not?
Yeah, look again. I think the under wins. I think that's going to win. I tell you what, I've been so impressed with not just Lovie Smith, but Davis Mills at quarterback. Has he put up unbelievable numbers? Has he blown it out? But the Texans have actually been in every game they've played so far. After losing what they've lost, supposed to be a rebuilding year. You think obviously they're going to have a top 2 pick, 1 or 2 pick, something like that. I'm watching Davis Mills operate this offense out there. They are not a horrible football team. And it seems to me like the Texans, ever since losing Deshaun Watson, maybe are a little more together as a team. I think that's something they could have possibly rallied around. I know the Colts have looked like absolute flaming garbage inside of a dumpster that's on fire, that's encompassed by a world that's burning down. But at some point, this is the NFL. You have to judge teams based on not just who they play, but how they play. And the Texans look somewhat competent to me. And Davis Mills is looking like a guy that can legitimately play quarterback in the NFL. Blaine, is Davis Mills as good as Derrick Carr?
That's a good question. I'm Spider-Man jiffing right now, to be honest.
You're
Derrick's a little bit better, but I mean, Davis Mills, long neck Kirk Cousins, baby. The thing about it, Lovie Smith gets everything out of his players.
Long neck Kirk Cousins?
He gets everything. Yeah, he gets everything out of his players. I mean, they can't play better realistically than what they're playing. I think. I mean, Stingley Jr. has been a phenomenal piece at cornerback. He's playing really well this year. You got Dan Pierce from Florida, who's going to be a good back. You got to get a little bit better up front. But the Texans play hard. And you tell me, I think this game was a, 6-point spread? Maybe if I'm wrong, I'd have to go back and look. But Texas money line, I'm not taking it because I don't feel like watching that game for 4 quarters, to be honest. There's a lot of other games I would like to be watching. But I don't think you could go wrong with Texas money line. Or realistically, there's another game out there. I mean, Lions money line plus 6.5 against the Vikings.
Vikings, I like the over in that game.
The Lions, I'm telling you, the Lions are turning into a problem.
I know. Dan Campbell, we've talked about this, and I don't want to digress here, but I know Minnesota's really pissed off the way they played last weekend, trying to make up for that. And they've got him at home. Detroit versus Minnesota. That's somewhat of a rivalry game in the NFL. You know, the distance from each place isn't that much. But guys, I'm looking at it right now. And if the Titans continue to play as bad as they have, there's a legitimate chance that the Texans could win the AFC South. Like I'm looking. I mean, you got
how
what,
crazy
Indianapolis?
Is that? Guys, how crazy is that, man?
It's
And even
insane.
when they drafted Derek Stingley Jr. at 3, I questioned that, just the way that he finished his LSU career, and I thought that they could go get other pieces. But he has been a fantastic add-on, and I thought the Texans would be one of those surefire teams this season to win 3 games or fewer. Now, look, I'm not saying like that's still not out of the question, but the way they played early has shocked me, and I have to say I'm critical of the NFL a lot with the direction that the organizations have headed in general. But that is one good thing you can say about the NFL. The parity is there, and every game is interesting.
Yeah, it is. Again, because we always talk about the difference in college and the NFL, right? The difference in the best team in college and the worst team in college is humongous. The gap in talent. The difference between Georgia and FIU is absolutely massive. But in the NFL, the talent gap isn't nearly as big. That's why I think you see so many similar schemes, because the talent gap isn't nearly that big. It's about how you play, how you draft, obviously, and how you develop in the culture that you have in your building. And it seems to me like maybe getting rid of Deshaun. I'm telling you right now, guys, I'm looking around. I'm looking at the Texans not being horrible, and Deshaun Watson being gone from there, and Deshaun Watson being gone from the Browns, and Jacoby Brissett looks like he's a guy that can be a legitimate quarterback for the Browns. Maybe Deshaun Watson is a problem. Is he a problem? Like, I know it's a great backstory where he came from. Like, you know, again, he used to help old ladies cross the street all the time back in the day. But I'm looking at it right now, like, is Deshaun Watson a fraud when it comes to like being a good teammate? Is that something we can really know yet?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's one of those things like the NFL needs Deshaun Watson like college football needs Nebraska. You know, do we really need you?
Wow.
I mean,
do we that to Nebraska?
Do we really?
How dare you do that to the Nebraska fans?
I mean, everyone's like, well, it would be better for Nebraska's been terrible in the last 20 years, and college football has been amazing.
Nebraska,
but no one misses
Nebraska, get away with that.
And no one misses Deshaun Watson. No one misses Deshaun Watson like no one misses Nebraska. And if NFL's fine, college football's fine.
I think number one, I guarantee you this. I know one of the two between Nebraska and Deshaun Watson will have a happy ending if they hire Hugh Freeze. I do know that. But moving on. Let's see. We got another $2 donation there from Owen.
Owen, give me all your money.
Yeah. What is it? I can't. It just popped up in the chat. Can anybody read it?
Okay. Giants crushed the Cowboys, right?
Well, that according to producer Justine, that's exactly what she wants to have happen. I got asked about this game earlier in the week. You know who I said? Is it #rush hour? I don't know, but I'm taking the home team. I am absolutely taking the home team in this game because there's nothing else I can look at and go, goo, and take it. That's exactly what I want. We'll see with Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. Obviously, Saquon Barkley, they found something there. Daniel Jones, do I believe in him? No. Is he going to blow it at some point? Yes. Is this the game? I don't know. This is like when an immovable object meets like an unstoppable force. You have two teams that know how to blow games better than anybody outside of Missouri from yesterday. So I think this is going to be a game of who can blow it first. I'll take the road team blowing it first.
What are we feeling about the Dave? What are you liking at the over right now? I think it's at 39.5. I can get it at 35.5. What are you thinking about that? Do you like the over in this game?
2017 finish, do we think? I mean,
okay, I think David, he's either frozen or looking through me. So
he's going to Doctor Strange you. This is what happens.
Yeah.
This is how it
now
happens.
I'm freaked out. I'm freaked out
because if you guys don't know during the show, if you watch us live, sometimes you'll just see Conan when he's talking to Blaine, he'll accidentally start Doctor Stranging.
My chair will start shaking.
Two fingers on the temple, two fingers going in a circle.
But what do you think, Jake? 35.5.
I mean, I'd obviously take the over if I was going to bet that, but I'm not risking one of my 6 slotted bets today on the Giants and Cowboys.
Well,
I can promise you that.
That's fine.
I can absolutely promise you that. What's the spread on the Giants? What are they?
It's -1. It's a pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em. I would legitimately.
It's at New York.
I would legitimately take the Giants money line. That's what I would take.
Would you?
Yes, that's what I would take. I would take the Giants money line. Maybe the party can keep starting.
Jerry Jones. Over.
Take the over.
Take the over. Yeah, Dave.
He popped back in. All right, Doctor Strange, welcome back.
Look, take the over, but maybe let's figure out a way to just contain Saquon Barkley and maybe make Daniel Jones beat us through the air.
Is someone playing Knowles this weekend?
Big matchup with Michael Knowles, and probably gonna get on the horn with General Manager Ben Davies after this. See what's really going on. See if we can keep Saquon contained.
What are you and Ben Davies? What are you and Ben Davies going to talk about? Y'all are enemies right now.
Yeah.
Well, look, I just want to see, like, hey, what's the inside information? How's Saquon feeling? What is it? Are his touches limited? I just want to see what's going on.
Mike RFF Lifestyle asks Crane & Co, what's the food and beverage vibe for today's game? Look, I've got some Bud Heavies in the fridge.
Some Bud Heavies?
What are you laughing at, man? You still drink Evan Williams, dog. What are you laughing at? We're probably may get some apps out, some buffalo chicken dip, some stuff like that. Really mix it around and move it. Reed's obviously here because we live together and we're getting married, but her mom's also here. Whipped up some absolutely fantastic ribs last night. I mean, they were falling off the bone.
Not as good as Cone's.
Yeah, my plate looked like a graveyard. Look, Cone's ribs are really good. Those are two different style ribs. Okay,
no. We're doing this right now.
No, we're doing this right now. No, we're not.
Which ribs are better?
Nope, we're not doing that. I'm not doing
which
ribs are better.
This is like that Wendy's breakfast commercial with the guy with his mom.
The glove doesn't fit. Yeah, the French toast.
The French toast. It's like, Mom, your French toast is really good. Look, you don't want to put people in certain situations.
Hey, and we do have, let me go ahead and mention, we do have our commissioner of the Fantasy League in the chat. So if you have any questions about rules or anything like that, the commish is in the chat.
Yeah. Well, if you have any fantasy questions too, hit us with it. We're going to hit. Yeah. Team Knowles.
Wow.
David Cone.
What's the projections on this?
Don't y'all have a bet, Cone, that the loser has to get like the stem that like recreates a manual? Not manual.
Loser has to go through a pregnancy simulator on air. Yeah.
I can't wait for you to wear that Ohio State jersey.
I haven't even completed my first.
Yeah, Cone, you're gonna have to wear that while wearing the Ohio State jersey. That's gonna be like the first thing you have to do when you go to hell.
No, I'm not losing both of these.
Oh, 20. Yeah, okay, all right. Nick Chubb with 17.
Yeah, Nick Chubb came through for the kid.
I wish Nick Chubb would have scored 17 against me. That would have been phenomenal.
You still won. What do you care how many he scored?
I'm sick of scoring a bunch of points, having almost more points scored against me. I think Jake's first.
No. I have the most points scored against me in all of fantasy.
I just said that. I just said that.
Did you? Okay. All right. My bad.
I just said that. Calm down, bud. Calm down.
Oh.
I tried to strike up a deal with Clavin. Maybe we could get something going. Really didn't hear anything back. I wanted to go see whoever loses has to dress up as Gandalf on their show, but he wouldn't do it. So I really couldn't Wasn't a lot of leeway.
Cleveland would make a good Gandalf. All right, let's rapid fire through these games. Chiefs at Colts. I think the Colts, now with Michael Pittman Jr. back, they've got a couple weapons back. I think this game's going to be pretty high scoring. Would not be shocked if Matt Ryan had a big day, considering how bad he started off. He's needed one. You got Jonathan Taylor at running back. People that are looking at this game and thinking the Chiefs are just going to wipe the Colts and it's not going to be close. With Pittman Jr. back, their backs are against the wall, being 0-1-1. We talked about that AFC South, how important it is with the Texans and the Jags, and obviously the Titans. I think this game's going to be closer than what people think, but I still think Kansas City wins it.
I don't know why this spread is so close.
I know. I was thinking
I'm confused. What am I missing? What am I missing?
Hey,
Michael Pittman Jr.'s
NFL away
That's
game.
what you're missing.
NFL away games, man. Like whatever you think is going to happen and whatever you know for sure is a lock, take the other way.
Like, I just don't get it. I mean, we see how bad the Colts have looked. And the scary thing about the Colts is the way they've looked bad. It's up front on offense, on the offensive line. And that's the last thing. If there are some surefire things that I could really be confident in the NFL, I'd have been like the Colts will be extremely good up front. They have been extremely mediocre up front. I don't know why this game's a 5.5 and 6-point spread. I'm scared to bet it now. There's one of the games I saw. I was like, I'm definitely going to bet this, but now I'm not going to touch it. And I'm getting confused about the Ravens -2.5 against the Patriots too.
Well,
so a lot of confusion for the
Same
Cranes.
thing here for Kansas City. Let's contain Jonathan Taylor. Okay, let's make Matt Ryan beat us through the air. So
I love that.
Team Knowles just can't get off to a hot start here.
Pittman Jr.
Aaron McManus says, I'm on Team Knowles, but I'd like to see him take the L this week just for the pregnancy simulator. I don't feel a lot of support there, but I feel a little bit. So I'll take anything I can get right now.
No, without a doubt. But I do think the Colts have the ability to play better on the offensive line. If they just had bad players and bad personnel, again, that's one thing. But they do have the personnel to turn around. Look, I know some of you guys are on Team Knowles. We're riding with the fellas in here.
Thank you.
You come in my house, you get my wife's name right. All right, everybody understand that. And by the way, I'm winning this fantasy thing.
I'm winning this league. Shouldn't have lost week one.
I'm taking Shapiro down today.
Hey, just look, two things. One, who's got the most points in the league? Your boy.
It's never the guy who starts hot. It's never the guy who starts hot who wins it.
It's already week 2. It's already week 2, and I'm already winning the most efficient manager in the league.
You can drink from the golden tumbler whenever you want, Blaine. I'll let you borrow it.
Yeah, I can because it's going to be mine.
I won't. I'll send you pictures of it with me holding it and taking it to all the greatest places around the world. The Great Wall of China, Siberia, Italy, France, somewhere in Asia where I trust them. Like it just is what it is. All right, Bills, Dolphins. How do I not take the over? I love the over. How do I not buy the alternate line and not take the over? The Bills are missing a ton of guys on defense. We know the Ferraris that are running around.
You've always said this, Jake. Jake, you've always said this. All right, when it's two high-scoring offenses, all right, you take the what?
Under, unless you can what? I think our boy Danny Sheridan did that before there were alternate lines. I think that was something that was done before alternate lines. Now that there's alternate lines, I will take the over on an alternate line that's under 3 points of what the over should be. Because I'm just looking at it. The Bills are missing a ton on defense. The Dolphins on defense aren't bad, but they're not good enough to slow down what Buffalo's bringing down. I mean, think about the receivers that are on the field today. Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs. I can go down the list. Tyreek Hill. You're playing against Stephon Diggs, aren't you? Yeah, you know what's going to happen. You and I both know what's going to happen. Come on now. Come on, bud. We're all friends here. But at the end of the day, I like the over in this game. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it. You want me to say it? The Dolphins will beat the Bills today.
I like that pick.
The Dolphins will beat the Bills today.
They're not going to go undefeated, right? So if there's a game to lose, I think it'd be on the road against a high-powered offense when your defense is banged up.
Yeah, Blaine, what do you think?
No, I think the Dolphins have a good enough team to win the Super Bowl. I feel like they've been a lot better up front. Their defense is starting to play a lot better. I mean, guys, look at that offense. I mean, name me a better offense right now in the NFL with more weapons. Realistically, it's not the Bills. It's not the Bills. I mean, you have Jalen Waddle. You have Gesicki, realistically a top 5 tight end. Tua's looking better. He's staying healthy. He threw a ball 40+ the other day. Who would have thought? Not me. I mean, you look at the running backs. You have 2 running backs who are decent backs in Mostert and Gaskins. So I think this team is good enough to win the Super Bowl. This will be a high-scoring game. Just please, if you're the Dolphins, we're in the film room. All right, we're in the film room. We're looking at one thing. We're looking at one thing only. How do we stop Stephon Diggs? All right. If this man isn't bracketed every play, I'm going to lose my mind. Make someone else beat you on the Bills offense. I mean, who's it going to be? Is it Davis? I mean, it's not Singletary in the run game.
Gabe Davis can definitely beat you on offense.
No, well, I'd rather Gabe Davis beat me than Stephon Diggs.
True. I mean, I'm with that. We got to ask Travis Elrod, should I play a defense other than Kansas City's? Depends on what's out there. You got to let me know what's out there.
Yeah, the Houston and Texans are the Bears and Texans are playing each other. Get one of them.
Yeah, if there's one of them out there. Look, I picked up the what defense am I? Here, I got it right here. This is why I got it pulled up. Let's see what defense Papa's rolling with. I think I picked up the Bears. Did I pick up the Bears? Oh, it's delicious. It's delicious. I've got the Bears. All right. Hey, Davis Mills, all the good stuff I said about you, don't do it today, bud. All right. Appreciate that. Thanks. Much love. Hugs and kisses. Eagles at Commanders. Eagles 6.5-point favorite. It may have moved down. I tell you, that's a lot of points at Washington. I know Carson Wentz is just waiting to fall apart in a big moment, but you got Jahan Dotson, the rookie that's showing, McLaurin, who's the McLaren, Curtis Samuel. Then you look on the other side. But the Eagles, man, I mean, the Eagles they look legit. There's a reason I had them winning the division.
Yeah, David, talk about Jalen Hurts. I want to hear you talk about him.
Why do you want to hear me talk about him?
I just love hearing.
I want to hear you talk about him, and I want to hear you thank him. I want to hear you say "Roll Tide," and I want to hear you thank him.
First of all, I'll never say that.
There's
two. Let me just go ahead and say this. All right, one. I just didn't pick the Eagles to win the division, and you'd have thought I would have trashed Jalen Hurts.
You trashed
him, and then you picked him in your fantasy.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard the phrase. I don't believe in Jalen Hurts.
There's a difference in between being a great quarterback in the NFL and being a great fantasy quarterback. All right, there is. Jalen Hurts runs the ball more than almost any other NFL quarterback that's out there, and they have so many quarterback runs in their system. He's just a great fantasy quarterback. You get those extra points, and he's a good quarterback. Let's not sit here and say that we didn't have questions about Jalen Hurts going through progressions and throwing the football after what we saw last year. All right, this is what that was based off of. I didn't know Jalen Hurts was going to come out and look like an MVP candidate the first 2 weeks. I don't think a lot of people did. I'll sit here and say I'm wrong when I'm wrong, but he's looked a lot better throwing the ball. And let's not forget the Eagles have one, if not the best offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah, I think they're second right now. I agree with everything you're saying. Look, I had questions about him as well, and I still do in terms of being able to replicate this week after week after week, especially if people take away the running schemes for the Eagles. But, man, if you're the Eagles right now, you got to be feeling good, and that's the reason that Jake, your brother, and I picked them to win the division.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm trying to figure how Blaine says that being a great quarterback and being a great fantasy quarterback don't go hand in hand when fantasy points are literally rewarded for you.
Because you can run. Running.
Well, running gets rewarded. But what do you mean?
The ball.
Like, I don't understand.
Running
I don't
the
understand.
ball. Like Kirk Cousins is not a great quarterback, but Kirk Cousins is a good fantasy quarterback.
What did you just say?
You heard me.
You know what? I'm not even getting on the Kirk Cousins thing. That's a great segue. Wes Caudle, our good friend, $19.99 donation. It's a case race. Jumped on late Sunday. Fun day donation. I hope the Bears D and Derrick Henry show up today. So do I, Wes. So do I. Because guess what? I got both of them too. You want to talk about bet buds? Let's hold hands and pray together, okay? So I hope good stuff happens. But speaking about Kirk Cousins, we'll go through this pretty quick. Lions and Vikings and Bears, oh my. Past 3 games these teams have played have each been decided by 2 points. Both games last year were decided on the final play. All right, Minnesota, 5.5-point favorite at home. This one smells like the over, guys. Is it still at 53.5? Like, it just smells like the over to me. Jared Goff, is he hiding gumballs in the sides of his mouth? I don't know.
Yeah, right now it's at 52.
It's at 52. God, I may buy that thing down to 51 and absolutely throw the rent on it. I think you're going to see the Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, who didn't have a big game last game. You know, he's wanting to get out there and gritty his way to a couple of the touchdowns. Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins didn't play on Monday night, guys. So you're going to get good Kirk Cousins. The Lions have shown the ability to run the ball with DeAndre Swift. You have the sun god, Amon-Ra, out there who's just shining every weekend. When NFC Offensive Player of the Week on Wednesday. And he could become, guys, he could set an NFL record with his 9th straight game with 8 or more receptions. The dude has more receptions than an AT&T cell tower. AT&T, you heard that. It's brought to you separate, battery sold separately.
Do you see that last donation we had, fellas?
What? Darby Lou?
Darby Lou Cone in the chat, $10 for Blaine to say roll tide or she will retract it.
In this economy, you got to say it.
Darby, I can't believe you're putting me in this position.
No, in this economy, you got to say it.
I'm not saying it.
Well, look, it's a win-win. It's a
Wow.
win-win because either Blaine will say roll tide or my family will stay $10 richer, and that'll buy a whole gallon of gas.
Darby,
Yeah.
like the only way I'll say it to you is where no one else can hear it ever, and it's just passing by at your house. Hey, Darby, what's up? Then I'll say it, but like I can't come out on the show and say it. You know that. You know that. There's levels, Darby. I can't.
All right, so
I
it's
can't
not
do
worth
that.
not worth the $10. I'll say it for you, Darby. You want me to say it? You want me to say it? In this economy, I'll say it. Look, I got people that are counting on me. I'll say it. Roll Tide. There you go, right there.
Wow,
There it is.
look at that. That's a
is.
level of maturity unknown
Wow.
to mankind.
Wow.
Also, I
Okay.
don't know how Darby
Yeah.
Lou is in the chat right now,
Yeah.
watching the show, taking care
Yeah.
of a 1-year-old, like doing like she's crushing it somewhere in the house right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
grow-
you
I'm
see
growing-
where Jake's allegiance lies.
No, well, listen.
Guys.
I
No, no,
Look, it's a paper
no,
chase.
no.
Auburn hadn't sent me a check yet. I don't
No.
know what you're talking about. Auburn
Okay, how
hadn't
about
sent
this?
me
Cone.
$10.
Hey, Cone, say go
Yeah.
Buckeyes.
Huh? Sorry, I'm having more internet
Exactly.
issues.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Let's get through this. Let's just go. Each one of you pick who's gonna win. All right. Saints, Panthers. Cone, who do you got?
Saints.
Blaine,
Panthers.
give me the Saints. Even though Jameis, wasn't it weird last week how they come out in the game and they're like, oh, by the way, Jameis has a few fractures in his back. They said it
Yeah.
like he stubbed his toe. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of a big deal. Jags, Chargers.
Chargers.
Blaine.
Is Herbert playing?
Let's hope
Yes.
not.
If
This
Herbert's
week.
playing, Chargers.
I believe
If
he's
not,
playing.
give me the Jags.
Who's
All
who's
right.
backing him up? Is it Tyrod Taylor?
It's me, guys. Surprise,
Oh.
it's me.
Okay. Well,
It's
then
you, David.
I'll be rooting for you, but I think I'll say the Jags.
Yeah. All right. Ravens, Pats. I think the Ravens bounce back from last week and they
Look.
figure out, hey, you probably shouldn't let wide receivers run right by you.
Yeah, well, you're about to find out in my picks. I'm taking Ravens money line.
Ooh, you know what? Let's just go to picks. Let's do that. Y'all want to do that as we
Okay,
kind of
let's
wind
do
down
that.
here? Again, hey, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Let's go ahead to picks. Here's what I got today, girls. Here's what I've got. Give me Ravens money line at -150. Give me the Dolphins, Bills over 51 at -148 on the alternate line. Give me the Broncos money line at home against the Niners. I'm shocked. I know Jimmy G's the quarterback there, but I believe Jimmy G's going to go to Denver and just forget it happens with him. Give me the Rams Cardinals over 46 combined points at -158. Then give me the Dolphins +3.5, guys. That's going off at +101.
Mhm.
And the Colts Chiefs over 51.5, which is also going off at +101. What do you got, Blaine?
David, you go.
Okay, all right. I want Chiefs -3.5. That's at -145. Go ahead and give me the Dolphins +7.5. I can get them at -185. Ravens money line -145 on the road.
Ooh.
Chargers money line -170. I'm going to go ahead and take the Bucks money line as well. I'm interested to see Brady and Rodgers go up against each other. That's -120. And then I'm going to take the 49ers money line on the road at Denver at -120 as well.
Interesting pick there, guys. Packers, Bucks. How do we feel? Well, Blaine, go ahead and say your picks real quick.
Okay, this is what I got. All right, I'm going. Let's go to the Dolphins Bills game.
Blaine, hold on 1 second. Now go.
Thank you. All right, I'm going anytime touchdown. Scored Josh Allen. I think he's going to run in one. It's +125. I'm going Lamar Jackson to score a touchdown, running touchdown. That's +170. Give me the Chiefs -2.5, -190. Taking the under 49.5 for the 49ers Broncos at -195. The under 42.5 for the Bears Texans -200. And give me Jalen Waddle anytime touchdown +170.
Oh, I would love that. I absolutely love that. Do we like the Packers or the Buccaneers? It's at the Bucks. I've got to go with TB12 because the Packers have about as much weapons as I do underneath in my basement, which nobody will ever know.
Bucks at home.
Blaine?
Yep. Give me the Packers.
Really? You're
Yeah,
a little,
the Bucs,
little
the
go
Bucs
pack
don't-
go.
I mean, Mike Evans suspended. Chris Godwin's still hurt. I mean, you had to sign Cole Beasley. It's not a lot out there for TB12 to throw to. I know there's not a lot out there for Aaron Rodgers to throw to, but I still think the Packers take this home.
Well, you look at the Buccaneers secondary. I just don't see how anybody really is going to create separation, even for the witch that Aaron Rodgers is. It's going to come down probably Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon out of the backfield versus Fournette in the backfield there in Tampa Bay. But doesn't it just seem like Cole Beasley and Tom Brady is like a low key, even though they just started playing with each other like that would be somewhat deadly. Like
I know how they haven't played together already.
I know
what I was
right.
thinking.
Beasley, I know Beasley isn't Edelman. Edelman's got a lot more sorcerer in him. He's a little bit of a conjurer, which I'll be surprised if he comes back. But I mean, Cole is just out there. You have to be little with long hair and balling. You have to really know what's going on.
No, I agree. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I know we talked about Jake, what he's eating and drinking today, but your boy's gonna go get a nice Jersey Mike sub.
So here you go. Just plug in the Jersey
my
Mike.
Sunday routine. My
It
nice
is.
number 56, the Big Kahuna, no mushrooms, please. Steak.
Man, should I try Jersey Mike's today, Blaine?
Here you go.
Come
Here
on,
we
baby.
go.
I'm telling you, Dave.
Should I go
Dave.
get the Big Kahuna sub today?
Go get the Big Kahuna.
God, do I go
No
get a Hooker and
mushrooms.
Ladder from
Steak.
Firehouse?
That's what I did last week. I had to respond to his Jersey Mike's last week by going and getting Firehouse. So
That's
I knew what I was
respect.
going to get.
I'm telling you,
Should
like,
Darby Lou, tell me in the chat, are we going to get Jersey Mike's today or what? I keep hearing about this Big Kahuna burger like it's Pulp
he says we're
Fiction or
going to
something.
Firehouse. It's better than Jersey Mike's. Like,
Is that what she said?
Like,
Firehouse is better than Jersey Mike's. And
No, it's
yesterday,
not.
Ben Shapiro
Man,
plays
and-
fantasy, and he's
she-
going down today
she
because
all
he's playing
caps
against your
it,
boy.
too. She all caps it too. That's how you know it's serious.
Yeah.
Y'all went to
it's-
Firehouse last weekend, man. Switch it up a little bit.
That's
Go to
exactly.
Jersey Mike's.
It's so serious. It's basically satellite radio. But we appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check us out every weekday, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. Go to jeremy'srazors.com/play. Get that referral link. You get a great deal on a Jeremy Shave Kit, and you can win a McLaren. Okay? Let me say that again. You can win a McLaren. You want to know how cool you are right now? It's regardless. You could be super cool. You could be the most uncool guy. But once you get a McLaren, you're there. You can get into any restaurant, regardless of what you're wearing. You can be in movies and stuff like
Can
that.
I enter this competition?
So go to Jeremy's
That's what I was wondering.
/play. And if you want the best place to bet, you can get $200 in free bets for your first $5 bet if you go to DraftKings, download the Sportsbook app, and enter the promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. We're giving you free money, people. Like I said, in this economy, you want some walking around money? You want some take you from a 6 to an 8 at the bar money? Go right now to DraftKings and use that promo code. You will not regret it. We appreciate you guys, the best audience in the world.
You know, I think we should take
ahead,
a playbook out of Jeremy's, take a page out of Jeremy's playbook there. If he's giving away a McLaren for Jeremy's Razor signups, I say that we do a contest where whoever gets the most Crane and Company subscribers, I'll give away one of Adam's toy cars.
Oh, I thought you were about to say you're about to give away Adam like this was a Neverland.
Yeah,
thing.
I'm
That's
glad.
what
Well,
they-
hold on. We're not
Cars
trying to
were on there.
Rumpelstiltskin my son here.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
they can
again,
have
I'm
one of
just
the
making
toy
sure,
cars.
Cone. Like, I mean, look, I don't know what Disney movies y'all are into, but I was just trying to, I want to be Anastasia, where all of a sudden we find out 5 years later, it's like there's Ace, already 7'3" as an 8-year-old. But again, yeah, check us out. Make sure you subscribe. If you just heard about us, I promise you there's a lot more great content. Got some great guests coming up this week. We're talking college football, NFL. Aaron Judge, is he going to do it? Guys, we're about to be at the point, and I'm going to try not to get emotional saying this. Still got, 13 minutes. So we got a little time. We're about to get to the point, which is what I call the golden hour of the sports year, where you have college football conference play. NFL is hot and heavy. Major League Baseball playoffs. NASCAR's coming down to the wire, which we will talk about. Some big-time golf tournaments coming up. It is a great time to be a sports fan in general, so make sure you follow us everywhere. It is the golden hour. Parting thoughts, Blaine, Cone, take the floor.
Yes.
Go ahead,
I just asked one thing. Justine, can we please get that clip of Jake saying those two words together from the show and send it to me?
You know what?
please?
That's so funny. You're
I'm
such
gonna
a
put it on
coward
socials.
that you won't say it, but you'll make
I'm
fun
a
of somebody
coward.
else. You're a coward.
I'm a
You're
coward.
and
How
a
does it feel being Tom Cruise and wearing an eye patch and walk around with the briefcase trying
Oh,
to assassinate?
You're talking about I'm Valkyrie right now? I'll Valkyrie this whole thing. I'll
But
Valkyrie. Don't stand around a bunch of
it's
wood tables in a
Auburn.
meeting,
It's
buddy.
Auburn, and you've been secretly working
Yeah.
for Nick Saban this whole time.
No, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I think Brian Hartman
Traitor.
is honest with you.
Traitor
Yeah,
and
no.
a coward.
Oh, I'm a traitor and a coward. I'm a
Traitor and a
You wanna-
coward.
You want to know why I say it? It's the same way I can wear pink colored shirts around because I'm secure with myself. People know where my
No,
allegiances
it sounds
lie.
like somebody just
People know
called
where my
insecurity.
allegiances lie.
What a way to start a Sunday.
Yeah,
I just
that's-
love it.
that's
It's about
exactly
the thing
right.
I expected you, kid.
You need
One
to
of
go to
those-
church.
One of those
pray for
weren't-
forgiveness.
That
Blake.
wasn't it. Me.
You need to pray for forgiveness.
Me.
Yes.
After you just
Grow
offered
up.
your soul to the devil of Nick Saban
I didn't
at
offer
Alabama?
my soul to anybody. I just
Yeah,
said
you did.
something.
Yeah, you did. Justine, clip that for me, please.
No, Justine, don't clip that for him.
That's so
please,
clipped,
man.
guys.
Thank you.
But it's Blake Griffin. It's so clipped.
Yeah. Kevin, what is your parting thoughts?
I'm really trying to decide if I should get a Jersey Mike sub for my football watching.
You're just
Sunday.
always thinking. You're just maybe that's why you're 7 foot tall because you're always just thinking about food.
Look, man, I'm not going to apologize. This is me.
Yeah. Jake's such a heightist.
Oh, I'm a heightist?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Go get
you're a
Jersey
liar.
Mike's, David, please.
Yeah. All right. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Catch us on social media too at Crane Company on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. We appreciate you. And like the chances. Well, like the chances of the Houston Texans right now not winning their division. We're going. Gone.